reports on what offers might be on the table for Seattle. So, first, last night from Jacina Anderson. She says, I'm told there's a team willing to give at least a third-round pick for DK Metcalf per source. You're shaking your head. It's not enough. I feel like I'm playing Deal or No Deal, and you're smashing the No Deal button. No Deal!
No Deal.
And the crowd isn't. It's like the No Deal for the really low
sound
one.
effect for No Deal. I got to find that here. But.
Where the crowd's not surprised at all. They're like, yeah, no deal.
This is when the $1 million case is still on the board.
And they're like, yeah.
And you just eliminated, like, the $5 case.
Yeah.
And
they're like, the banker's offering $100.
I will offer you $600.
No deal. This morning... Maybe this one's a little more enticing. Now I'm the banker. This morning from The Athletic's Diana Rossini. The Seahawks are seeking a first and third round pick in exchange for the star receiver. Those sources also said Metcalf is eyeing a new contract worth around $30 million per year. Two separate things to talk about here. One is whether you'd be willing to pay DK $30 million per year. But first, and most importantly, Seahawks are seeking a first and a third.
Good for them. I wish them the best of luck in order to get a first and a third for DK Metcalf, which I believe was the price tag that the Titans received for A.J. Brown back in the 2022 draft. Yeah. And, I mean, A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf have been compared throughout their entire careers because they were teammates at Ole Miss. They were in the same draft class. And they both are very similarly built, have a very similar skill set. I just think A.J. Brown is a better receiver, and he was one of the missing pieces to turn the Eagles into this juggernaut that they've been in the NFC over the last 3+ seasons. I don't put DK Metcalf on that level yet, and maybe, he just isn't in a situation where he can kind of put a contending team over the top. Not to say that the Seahawks are, a middling franchise or anything like that, but I think a first-round pick for DK Metcalf might be a little too rich for other teams out there who are going to be dabbling in this wide receiver market.
Well, and
first-round pick plus a $30 million contract.
I don't know that the Titans, who were on the other side of that deal, make for a very tempting comparison because they trade A.J. Brown, who then goes on to be like a second-team All-Pro, just an absolutely amazing season. 1,400 yards a year after playing just 13 games and getting 869 yards, and then absolutely takes off. He hasn't had less than 1,000 yards and had 1,400 yards in 2 seasons with the Eagles. He was also 25, and he might have been 24. I know 22 was his first season with the Eagles was his age 25 season. I don't know whether he was 24 when he was traded, but either way, that's 2 years younger than DK.
Yeah, and I believe it was A.J. Brown's just second contract he got in the NFL, and the Titans didn't even want to pay that for him, even though he had been incredible in his first 4 seasons in the league, but that was too rich for what the Titans wanted to pay him. Now we got DK heading into his third contract, which a lot of talk over the last couple of weeks when we've been broaching the subject of DK, this was even before the trade request yesterday, is do you pay a receiver a third contract, even though DK is only 27? Like, that's a big difference between him and a lot of other receivers approaching this third contract, is that he still has some youth on his side. Like, you could sign him to a multi-year deal and he still wouldn't even hit 30 years old. Like, whereas you've got guys like Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins, guys who have had pretty illustrious careers in the NFL, but are on the other side of 30 right now, that are available in free agency, but I just don't think they're going to command a ton of money. Well, Cooper Kupp's still with the Rams, but all expectations are he'll be on the move somewhere. But I don't see a first and a third right now in the Seahawks' future. Doesn't hurt to ask. Certainly doesn't hurt to ask. But if I'm another team and the Seahawks are like, how about I counter with a first and a third, I'm going to hit you with this.
No!
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. Now, there is another idea out there. This isn't a report from Albert Breer, but it's his general idea on what a trade return for DK could look like. This is what he told Brock and Salk this morning.
I mean, my guess would be like a 2+. And I don't know if they would move him for that, but I think like that would probably be what you're looking at. Again, like the hard ask if you're Seattle right now is asking another team to give up the high-end draft assets plus the monster deal. And that's where the contract situation like hurts his value. Like if you had a guy who was signed for the next 3 or 4 years, like you'd be talking about something else. Then I think you'd be well within your rights to ask for a 1. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like now you're basically granting the other team the right to extend him, and the right to pay him at the top of the market. And when DK Metcalf enters into that negotiation, because he knows that team wants him and has a finite amount of time to get it done, like DK kind of holds all the cards. So you're not in a great spot from a leverage perspective when you're trying to negotiate the contract before the trade is completed. So it's just a lot of moving parts.
Think about it from the other team's perspective, as you just did, Curtis. You are giving up picks and immediately extending a receiver to a very, very costly deal. I'm not talking $35 million, but
right.
30 plus.
You're talking near the top of the market.
Yeah. We'll talk about the wide receiver market coming up at 10:30 and whether that might tempt certain teams, but this isn't something that makes a first-round pick like a certainty. You're not going, well, DK's so talented. He's this big X receiver. Like, don't you want to get this guy? There are teams that need that guy. There are teams that badly need that guy. It is more tempting to trade a first when you got a couple years of that guy to see how he fits in your system, to take advantage of it. I would not be mad at a second. And depending on the team, that second could be 30-something. I mean, the Patriots have, I think, 35 overall. They need a wide receiver.
I'd be down for that pick for sure. And, I mean, you look at what the Seahawks and their needs are right now. All of a sudden, you trade DK Metcalf, wide receiver becomes a big need in the draft because you just moved on from Tyler Lockett. You have Jackson Smith and Jigba here, but outside of those 3 guys, there hasn't really been anybody that has emerged. I know a lot of fans want to see more from Jake Bobo, more Bobo, hashtag. But I don't see that right now from Jake Bobo as a guy who could potentially morph into a huge contributor, a potential 1,000-yard guy as a wide receiver number 2 in this offense. So you're looking at what was a huge strength of your team just a year ago now becoming a pretty weak spot. Moving on from these 2 guys, I think a second-round pick would do a lot in terms of replenishing what you're missing. And as Mina Kimes pointed out to us yesterday, DK Metcalf himself was a second-round pick. It's not like, you can only find these guys in the first round. Like, they exist all throughout the draft. You just got to be able to uncover them. The issue, though, is that this wide receiver draft class, from a lot of experts we've talked to, is not the elite one that we've seen, for the better part of the last half decade or so, where every single year you're introducing a superstar to the league. But I think right now a second-round pick plus something else,
like a player or a 6th-rounder
or a 4th or something like that. I think that is something where I would definitely pick up the phone if I were the Seahawks, because I just don't see the number of teams that would offer up a first-round pick. I just don't see more than 3 or 4 teams willing to part with them, and they're all going to be at the back end of the first round. No one in the top probably 15 would offer up their first-round pick for DK Metcalf. So you're kind of you're kind of just in this weird middle ground of yes, DK can roll out of bed every single morning and get you 1,000 yards, but there's just everything else that comes with DK Metcalf that it's is that enough is his on-field production enough to kind of push aside the big contract you're going to have to give him, and then also just kind of what he has been as a receiver, where he has had issues with drops. He has had issues with completing his routes. He has had issues, with, you see it on the sideline, coaches, where, what was it? Was it the 49er game on Thursday night where he was like, give me the phone.
Oh, yeah,
give
where
me
he
the
called
phone.
up to
Called
Grubb.
up Brian Grubb and was like, Grubb, get me the ball. Yeah, let's get it past the sticks. So there are all those things that come with DK.
Kind of liked that.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely interesting.
I like a little fire.
Little peek behind the curtain as to what's going on in that Seahawks receiver room. But yeah, does everything outside of Sunday with DK Metcalf, is it worth putting up for if you're wanting to make a trade for him?
Right.
Because you know what his on-field production is like, but there's just more to it than that. And especially if you're going to make a big investment like this, if you're an opposing team, you got to be able to make sure that this guy is going to be worth it. And, the Seahawks also, got to enter business with a team that is going to listen to their offer too.
One potential twist to all of this, I saw it mentioned by Brian Nemhauser, who's been on the show before, by a listener just now. is that you can get a higher round pick, assuming you work something out for 2026. So maybe instead of a 2025 first rounder in a quarterback weak class when you've already got Geno, maybe you entertain a 2026 first rounder in a better quarterback class, and then maybe that's higher than you think it is.
Yeah, I think you have to be willing to look at all options. If the first round pick that you're seeking only comes in 2026, I think you've got to be willing to make that move. I would be okay with a future first round pick in 2026, one where you don't know where it's going to fall in the first round, because look, it worked out in the Seahawks' favor in the Russell Wilson trade, trading for a future first round pick, because it turned out to be the number 5 overall pick. Like, that worked in your favor in a big way. You've got a pillar of your defense now in Devin Witherspoon going forward. So there is a bigger risk in trading for a first-round pick that you don't know the number of what it's going to be, but there's also a great chance that it's going to be one that could be better than what you could get at the end of the first round this year.
If you can't get a first-rounder this year or next, and if you cannot get a second-rounder this year or next, what do? Just revisit it and say, now we're getting to the second part of Diana Rossini's tweet, and say, hey, you know what? $30 million isn't obscene. $30 million is less than Brown's like 31 or 32. It's certainly less than Justin Jefferson's 35, which I don't know how DK could possibly ask for, and it's going to be less than what Jamar Chase is going to ask for, which is the moon. It's not an insurmountable sum. It lowers your cap hit for this year. Is that when you revisit it, or do you think we're beyond that?
I think the Seahawks have – I think yesterday, and just the decision of DK's people to make the announcement when they did –
that bridge?
Yeah, I think there was a bridge burned yesterday in saying, like, I do not care that Tyler Lockett, the guy who I've been teammates with every single day that I've been with this organization, on his last day as a member of the Seahawks, at least as a player, I do not care about that. I'm going to get my news out there.
I don't know that DK did.
It may not have been DK's call.
Tyler.
Right. It may not have been DK's call, but as we know, agents do a lot of the dirty work like this.
Seedy.
And remember, the last time you had a player won out of Seattle, their agent did a ton of dirty work. Then we're talking Russell Wilson and Mark Rodgers. And I kind of wonder if John Schneider saw that move made yesterday by DK's camp and was like, sorry, like, I can't have you back if you're going to be doing this.
Yeah.
Like, if this is how it's going to go on day one of these negotiations, I don't want to, be here and talk contract numbers with you into the summer, into August. If this is how it's going to be right out of the gate, then sorry, I just can't do business with you.
Look, I'm very cool with the second rounder for this year. This is a draft where every single expert that we've had on has said not a fantastic quarterback class, and it's also not a great class for first-round wide receivers, but there is a ton of running back depth, a ton of defensive line depth, really good guards on day 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get a second-rounder and a third-rounder, I know that doesn't feel good. You're giving something up that you know works. However you feel about DK, maybe you think he's a diva, maybe you wish he would do more. I'm tired of 1,000 yards. I want 1,400. Sure, I get it. But he's a very talented player. It's the reason that he's been dominating headlines for the last 24 hours is because he has immediately become the top trade target outside of, obviously, Myles Garrett. That's kind of quieted down. But it's a risk.
Yes.
Giving him away for picks. I'm intrigued by day 2 in this year's draft. I would also be very intrigued by a 2026 first rounder. Those are the two things that interest me most. I don't think they're going to get a 2025 first rounder unless that team, and we'll talk about this in 15 minutes, has like a late first and are desperately in need of a wide receiver.
Yeah, I think a first round pick is a lofty goal to have, especially in 2025. But I don't fault the Seahawks for trying, because that is the most valuable commodity you can have right now in the NFL, because you're going to have somebody on a rookie deal for 4 years, possibly even 5 years, and at a much more palatable number. I think, what was it? We had Bill Barnwell on last year where he was looking at the total salary that Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to make. Over the course of his rookie deal, he was going to make $35 million, which is what Justin Jefferson is going to make in 1 year. So you look at just kind of what the best bargains in football are right now. Wide receiver is jumping up that list rapidly.
The wide receiver market is also going to influence how much the Seahawks can or can't get for DK. We'll talk about that in less than 15 minutes. Right now, let's get to headline rewrites.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
Headline rewrites.
We must make headlines.
The real story behind the headlines in today's news with Bump and Stacy.
Headline number one, Ernest Jones' agent confirmed on Wednesday that the linebacker had a procedure done on his knee after the season ended. What's the real headline?
Let's hope his next procedure is putting pen to paper and signing a new contract.
That's right.
Are you worried about the news of that knee surgery? A lot of players get off-season work, and a lot of players have, I'm not saying his is chronic, but a lot of players do deal with things quietly that like resurfaces issues, and they just kind of treat it throughout their career.
I do wonder if that's maybe why we haven't seen any sort of movement lately on the Ernest Jones front. I know the Seahawks have talked a lot about the importance of bringing him back, the importance of Ernest Jones. That's a hat tip to Matt Nelson, who has beaten that joke over our heads.
The importance of being Ernest. He's wanted to use that so many times.
Exactly. But I think the Seahawks recognize his importance to this defense. I think Ernest Jones likes it here, especially because he's bounced around the league over the last couple of years and looked like a really good fit in this Mike Macdonald defense. So I think I'm still hopeful that this gets done. Does it get done before the league year starts? Maybe, but I don't quite know. I mean, there was that report at the end of the regular season that Ernest Jones' agent wanted him to hit the open market. Maybe that still is the case. But I still think even if that happens, much like it was with Leonard Williams a year ago, I think the Seahawks are in a great spot to bring him back.
Headline rewrites.
Headline number two, Oregon and head coach Dan Lanning have agreed to a 6-year extension worth $11 million per year. What's the real headline?
That's a lot of money for someone who's lost every important game he's ever coached in.
Boy.
I mean, look, I will give him that regular season game against Ohio State. It was a great watch.
It was.
And they did win on some really smart coaching decisions.
He finally beat Washington, even though Washington was a 6-win team
and
this
smashed
year.
a helmet to really send a message. We beat up on a crippled Washington team.
God. They lost. They got smoked in the Rose Bowl. They lost the Pac-12 championship game last year. They lost to Washington, 3 straight years? I think, was it? Or 3 straight games in a 2-year span, because they played them twice in 2023. I mean, look, Oregon is a really talented team. They always have talent going through that program. But at some point, regular season championships, at some point, you got to turn this into success in December. Success in January, right?
Yeah, and what's interesting about Dan Lanning's roster is the part of me that grew up here, went to UW at a time when UW was very bad, and Oregon was very good, but still saw it as the Pac-12 not having quite the same advantage, and even the best schools in the Pac-12 outside of USC in certain eras not having quite the same advantage. But that's not true. It's not. Right. Oregon has the most NIL money behind only Ohio State, at least according to a couple different outlets. I know we don't know the exact totals of a lot of these NIL deals, but this is a roster that has 4- and 5-star talent. This is a roster that has a lot of money invested. I guess we'd still be complaining about Ryan Day in the same way had his Buckeyes not won this year.
That's weird, because it feels like Ryan Day is still on the hot seat, even though they won a national championship.
I don't want to be in that spot. It is never good enough. It's the same thing that Kalen DeBoer is going to face at Bama.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing that whoever, replaces a number of coaches around the league, Dabo, whoever. It's always going to be, it's never good enough. If the expectation
Kirby
is
Smart,
you win, Kirby Smart. If you win every single year, but you don't win a national championship, well, it's not good enough.
It's not.
Because I feel the same way.
Good problem to have,
that Ryan Day, in my mind,
yeah,
if he loses to Michigan in 2025,
for a 5th straight year,
coming off a natty, they're going to be like, Ryan, what are you doing? Get this guy out of here.
Headline rewrites.
Headline 3, the LA Chargers are cutting pass rusher Joey Bosa to save $25 million against the cap. What's the real headline?
That seems like pretty good wide receiver money.
I think so. I you kind of wonder about those Chargers.
There was a report that I did see yesterday, Curtis, and it was from Jordan Schultz of Fox Sports, and he said that the Chargers had approached the Seahawks, had been quietly seeking a trade of DK Metcalf, had approached the Seahawks before, and he didn't say what the trade offer was or what that looked like. He just said, quote, and they were rebuffed. Maybe the Seahawks and the Chargers revisit those conversations. Maybe the Chargers are willing to ask for a little bit more this time around.
Yeah.
Maybe Diana Rossini saying the Seahawks are looking for a first and a third. Is something leaked to let people know what the minimum asking price is going to be, and don't call us if you aren't willing to offer at least that?
Yeah, I think you have to take a call from the Chargers, especially because, like we talked about yesterday, there were so many connections between the two coaching staffs. Sanjay Lal was a longtime wide receivers coach here in Seattle that DK was really tight with. And then also Mike McDonald coached under Jim Harbaugh. You've got Jay Harbaugh on the Seahawks coaching staff. There's just a lot of connections between the two teams. The Chargers have a big wide receiver need. A lot of people kind of pointing to their lack of a number one receiver this year as kind of the thing that held them back from being a lot better than what they were. They still won double-digit games. They still made the playoffs. But, yeah, you look at that Chargers roster. Of all the teams that we're going to talk about at 10:45, Stacy, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a team with a bigger wide receiver need than the Chargers.
Like Curtis said, coming up at 10:45, we're going to talk about 5 possible landing spots for DK, 5 possible trading partners for the Seattle Seahawks. Before we get to that, we got to set the scene. There's very important context when it comes to this year's wide receiver market. That's next.
The John Schneider Show.
With Wyman and Bob.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
You're down at the Combine. What's the biggest priority that you want to know about these players?
Yeah, I would say having our coaches here this year, interviewing the players in person and watching them interact, how they respond to the teaching, and can they teach the coaches. That's probably the most important thing this year. We didn't bring the guys last year because everybody was just installing our systems and getting going. So it's pretty cool having those guys here this year.
Hear the rest of this interview on demand at seattlesports.com and on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
The smart way to improve home comfort is a new heat pump. New heat pumps from Home Comfort Alliance provide efficient heating and cooling in one unit. Upgrade today and enjoy 18 months same as cash financing and up to 15% off through March. Visit homecomfortalliance.com.
The Gene Simmons Band, live Tuesday, April 8th at Muckleshoot Event Center. He's the God of Thunder. He's going to rock and roll all night and bring you an unforgettable night of head-banging rock and roll. Get tickets now at muckleshootcasino.com. The Gene Simmons Band, only at Muckleshoot Casino Resort.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated, because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit vaxassist.com and schedule a vaccine today. Sponsored by Pfizer.
For 70 years, we've been known as the Humane Society of the United States. But as the challenges animals face have grown, so have we. We are now called Humane World for Animals. And with you on our side, we are going to end animal cruelty around the globe. Join us. Humane World for Animals. The end of animal cruelty.
The nonprofit Puget Sound Senior Baseball League plays real baseball on the best fields. The season's next tryout for adults ages 18 to 65 and older is this Saturday, March 8th at Hogan Park at Russell Road in Kent. With 10 divisions featuring different age and skill levels, there's room for almost every ball player, from ex-Little Leaguers to high school and even former college and pros. Get all the info at pssbl.com. That's pssbl.com.
Free consultations, no-fee guarantees, 5-star reviews. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains the importance of going beyond these familiar offerings.
Accident victims want an attorney, Tom, that satisfies their needs. Someone who handles those needs with the highest degree of care. Pendergast Law offers the no-fee guarantees and free consultations, but these only scratch the surface.
Okay, explain more.
We make sure that every member of our team is genuinely passionate about helping others. Customer service and communication are our top priority. It's how we take care of our clients so they always feel one step ahead of the insurance companies. Our strong reputation for high standards provides comfort and confidence when it's needed most.
Pendergast Law offers the free consultations, the no-fee guarantees, and, of course, they are 5-star rated. But what really makes them different is their genuine passion for helping others. I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
That's PendergastLaw.com.
Guys, your testosterone level impacts your energy, drive, weight, hair loss, and even ED. Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your T level for free. For your free T level check, exam, and consultation, call 206-529-1111 or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Heading outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nelly on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Ladies, and you guys too, have you noticed visible signs of aging, those deep wrinkles, fine lines, and facial creases stealing your youthful glow? Sagging skin, crow's feet, and loss of facial contour are all natural effects of aging, but you no longer have to let them define your appearance. Introducing the New Skin Lift, the groundbreaking facelift led by Dr. Brian Scott. The advanced New Skin Lift addresses key signs of facial aging for women and men, restoring natural youthful contours. Whether it's replenishing volume lost over time or lifting the skin to smooth out those creases, the New Skin Lift can help you look 10 to 20 years younger with both surgical and non-surgical options. It's Hollywood's best kept secret and now available to you. Get a free consultation and save $250 off your New Skin facelift. Schedule at newskinlift.com or 206-222-1225. Look 10 to 20 years younger and restore your youthful appearance with the New Skin facelift. newskinlift.com.
It is that time of year, homeowners. You start thinking about that roof with all of the rain and probably snow coming, and you wonder, do I need a new roof? Do I need a repair? Or even what is happening up there? Well, I was thinking the same thing, so I had Asset Roofing come out and do a full inspection for me, and they were extremely professional. The communication was great every step of the way, and the best part is they sent me a detailed report with pictures showing me what they saw and gave me the recommendations. And what you really need is an expert on your side, and Asset Roofing is on my side. Allow them to work for you too, especially if your home is surrounded by trees like mine is, which leads to the moss growth that was happening. Your roof is supposed to last upwards of 20 years, so a yearly inspection is a very small price to pay for adding to the lifespan of your roof, saving you big money down the road and giving you peace of mind. Find out more at AssetRoofingCo.com. That's AssetRoofingCo.com.
Certified work that's never in doubt. Asset Roofing, excellence is on the house.
You're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Before we get to 5 possible landing spots for DK Metcalf, 5 possible trade partners for the Seahawks, and we're going to include some of the top 2 picks that they have. I'm not confident that Seattle can get a first, even though there's a report they're looking for it, but we'll include the second-round pick for all of these teams so that we kind of know what they're working with. Before we get to any of that, though, we got to set the scene because the scene is very important context when it comes to this. This is a not so great, not so hot market for wide receivers. There is a lot of cheap options available. There are a lot of cheap options available, and there are big names. Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, but those guys are now past 30.
This was 21?
Yo, this would be the most
bonkers.
amazing wide receiver class, but these guys are all just a little bit older. So this was interesting from Adam Schefter. Let's start here.
Now, the question that every general manager is going to have to ask himself is, are we better off surrendering all the trade compensation that we're going to have to give up to Seattle and pay DK Metcalf a new deal, or are we better off taking on a different type of free agent wide receiver? Could we sign Devontae Adams, who's older, or a receiver like Keenan Allen, who's older, not have to give up the trade comp, not have to give him a contract as rich? That's a decision that every GM and every team that's in the wide receiver market is going to have to make at this point in time. You take a look at all the free agent wide receivers who are out there or who are expected to be out there, including Cooper Kupp. That's what I'm talking about. Do you want to go give up, we'll call it, a first-round draft pick or a second-round draft pick for DK Metcalf? Pay him an average of over $30 million a year. when you can go sign Amari Cooper or Christian Kirk or Hollywood Brown or Stephon Diggs or Devontae Adams.
That is an interesting way to look at it, Curtis, because I had been leaning on sound from Ian Rappaport where he said, look, it's not a great draft class. It's not a great free agency class. A 27-year-old established DK Metcalf who has, more often than not gotten 900-plus yards a season, that feels like a far more intriguing option for a lot of teams. What do you make, though, of Schefter's case about, well, there's also a lot of guys out there that are cheaper, and some teams might be far more willing to do that than pay DK $30 million a year plus give up picks?
I can definitely see why Schefter would think that because, as we have talked about, the price tag that's going to come with acquiring DK Metcalf is much steeper than simply signing one of those guys. I mean, you're going to sign any one of those veteran receivers to what will be a fraction of what DK Metcalf gets paid during his next contract, which he will receive. There's going to be some team out there that is willing to meet DK Metcalf where he's at in terms of what he wants. But of those receivers named, I mean, yes, all of them have had great moments in the league and all of them have had great years, but none of them have had them recently. You bring up Cooper Kupp's name. He had that phenomenal season and was instrumental in the Rams' Super Bowl championship, but since then has just battled tons and tons of injuries. Devontae Adams is not who he was prior to the Raiders trade, prior to the Jets trade. We all thought maybe he was going to be somebody that lifts that Jets team to another level after he got there. Didn't happen at all. DeAndre Hopkins is available. He didn't really look like DeAndre Hopkins of old with the Chiefs this year. So, I mean, yes, they have a ton of name value. Stephon Diggs might be the most interesting of that group just because before his injury this year with Houston, he was considered among the game's elite receivers. So I'm looking at just this free agent class, and it's like, I mean, yeah, these guys are cheaper than DK, but do they have the upside of DK? I don't think any of them have the upside of DK right now.
No.
Based off of where they're at in their careers.
Yeah, maybe at their peak, you take them, but rip the nostalgia away from this class. And the question becomes, do you want a 32-year-old Devontae Adams who actually had like a solid year if you look just statistically between the Jets and Raiders, but he is only getting older, as are we all.
It's true.
And DK is a
Death
little
is
further
coming
away.
for us all.
Yeah, DK is a little further away from 30. I have what sounds like a boring take, but I'll explain what I mean. Both are right. Adam Schefter is right in that cheaper free agent targets will be far more intriguing for some teams. And Ian is right in that a not-so-hot free agent class and a not-so-great draft, at least in the first round for receivers, will make some teams consider a big trade. I think it depends on the window that team is looking at and the tendencies that they've had in the past. By window, I'm obviously saying like contenders, I think, are sometimes willing to be a bit more aggressive. Yeah. Particularly if they need just that single thing to put them over the top. The Seahawks made a wildly aggressive trade for Jamal Adams because they saw themselves as a contender, and I do not think a 5-win team staring down the barrel at another 5-win season makes that move. So if I'm looking at teams around the league and I'm looking at a team that thinks like, hey, we need something to take us over the top, obviously the Chargers come to mind, and I will spoil that they are one of the teams I'm going to talk about next. But that's because one of their issues has been, we have no receivers, but when we did, we had one of the older wide receiver groups in the league, and we've got this young quarterback, and we are wasting his prime. And we've got this brand new head coach that wants to take advantage of that young quarterback, and we don't want to waste either of those two contracts.
Right.
Maybe they are willing to take a big swing with draft picks and to pay DK massive sums of money because they don't want to repeat the tendencies that they had in the past to just hang on to older receivers and then not find a lot of success there. And they know that this past season, trying to replace those guys didn't really work out.
No, it didn't.
Will Dissly at times was like their leading receiver in games. So they badly need the help. I think they'd be willing to be aggressive. We know they were quietly pursuing DK before this news came out. And I think that they want a long-term option. A team like Kansas City, we talk about every single season since they traded Tyreek Hill as needing receivers. That's especially true with Travis Kelce getting older and having a down year. What tendency have they had, though? At least recently, a willingness to hit free agency and go, yeah, this works.
Right.
We'll take a cheap option. We'll still win a Super Bowl. We'll still get to a Super Bowl. They seem like a team that would sign a Devontae Adams or Godwin or someone else that could be cheaper.
Well, and one thing about Kansas City's offensive philosophy that's changed a lot over the years, especially in the years since Tyreek Hill, is that their downfield passing game is almost non-existent nowadays. It's a lot of underneath stuff. You don't see Patrick Mahomes rearing back, chucking it 50 yards down the field, 60 yards down the field anymore. And maybe that's because of the skill sets of his receivers. You know, a lot of people thought maybe Hollywood Brown was going to be that guy this year, which he has been in years past with the Ravens and the Cardinals, but just was hurt all season long, wasn't able to do that. I wonder if DK Metcalf is even a fit philosophically in Kansas City right now, considering that they just don't really play that kind of game offensively right now, where everything's just much more underneath. And we saw that here in Seattle this year where they tried that a couple of times and with DK, and most notably was that 49ers game on Thursday Night Football where DK didn't finish the route and pass got picked off.
Yeah, the Chiefs know they do not need DK to get back to a Super Bowl.
Right.
They know that for almost a fact. The Chargers are desperate to get to a Super Bowl.
Well, they're
and desperate to take advantage of their young quarterback and the idea of pairing him long term.
They're in a division that is very competitive too. You need to make moves like this to keep up with Kansas City. You've got Denver nipping at your heels. Vegas just hired Pete Carroll. Like, if you're the Chargers, you are looking at any kind of big swing you can take right now.
Yeah, so I think, look, Adam Schefter's point, absolutely true for some teams, but I think there are teams that are desperate to have a longer-term answer. And DK is closer to 30 than he is to 22. But you've got several good years. You've got, I think, the full extent of a contract extension, right? I mean, his year 27 season, I think this will be it. Mm-hmm. Then you've got 28, 29. Maybe you sign a 4-year deal at 30. And then he's hitting the market younger than Adams is right now.
Right.
Well, I mean, he will always be younger than Devontae Adams, to be fair. Like that, the math is mathing on that.
Exactly. Like where he will be at the end of his third contract is where most of these guys are right now, where they're looking for those 1-year deals. They're looking for, they're probably not going to get a fourth big deal. Whereas DK, I mean, he'll be probably 30 years old, probably sign another 3-year deal with an option or something like that, and hit free agency again at 30, 31 years old. Yeah. I mean, youth is definitely working on his side. It's working on the Seahawks side too, because that is something you can absolutely say to teams that are maybe scared off about a third contract for him, is that, hey, he's at the age where most guys are getting their second deal. 27 years old. That is not, that's not dinosaur years in the NFL anymore. Maybe it is. We've seen it with the running back position, but I think you can still be a very effective wide receiver well into your 30s.
Yeah, well, I think we do this thing in general when it comes to athletes that we would do in real life. Like in real life, all of us get closer to the next decade. And I think that this is science. Once you hit the 7, the second digit being 7, you start thinking to yourself, I'm basically this age. Whatever the next decade is, right? You're 47, you're like, oh man, I'm closing in on 50. 57, oh, I'm closing in on 60. And we do that with players, forgetting that the next 3 years of my life will probably be kind of the same. The next 3 seasons of DK, one of those could be his career best season if you pair him with the right quarterback. You know what I mean? Like each of those years really could matter. And so, yeah, he is, in theory, not far off from 30, but he is not 30. And that's hugely important to a team looking for, a 3-4 year window right now.
Yeah, December of 27 is when he turns 30.
What do you think we'll be doing in December of 2027?
This maybe.
Hopefully.
Will radio exist in 2027?
When's
we'll just all be podcasts. Yeah, I know. That's right.
2032?
Yeah,
we got time.
Yeah, 2032. We got 7 years before that happens.
All right. Coming up next, 5 possible landing spots for DK Metcalf. Don't go anywhere.
4 down territory. Going inside the game with former Cougs and Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
What part of football has changed, and do you like it?
2-point conversions. Like, we are chasing points. The game has changed. 2-point conversions and 4th downs. So we're seeing coaches dive into the data like a lot of people do with baseball. And I like it, and it is weird at the same time because I'm not used to seeing these 4th down conversions or attempts and these 2-point conversions.
4 down territory. Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy.
Imagine finding your dream home and moving in right away. No waiting to sell your old place first. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program lets you do. Buy your new home now and sell the old one later. Here's how it works. Orchard gives you cash so you can buy and move into your new home first on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then the Orchard experts take it from there. They handle repairs on your old home and make price-boosting upgrades with no cost until close. Once they're done, a local Orchard agent lists and sells your home for top dollar. Orchard's Move First program gives you the freedom to buy and move into your new home first and sell your old home later. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Ready to find out how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. It's no wonder that ZipRecruiter is the place for skilled skydiving instructors, accomplished airbrush artists, and proficient pediatricians. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter to hire, you're missing out. ZipRecruiter is the place that's so confident it can make your hiring easier that it lets you try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. So if you want the right candidates for all your roles, ZipRecruiter is the place to go. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes, and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit GetEthos.com. That's GetEthos.com.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Do you need a new roof? Don't wait for summer to replace it. 3 Tree Roofing is here to help you save big this winter. Avoid summer's higher prices and longer wait times and protect your home's integrity now. Visit 3treeroofing.com for your free on-site estimate. Our certified installers make it easy and worry-free, no matter the season. Don't wait. Book your estimate today at 3treeroofing.com. Mention this ad and get $500 off your roof replacement. 3 Tree Roofing, your Puget Sound roofing experts.
We are Seattle Sports, the home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Watch your favorite show live at seattlesports.com.
I've always said, the car sales in the 1980s and 1990s, earned the rep that we have today. The concerns that consumers have because of what has happened in our industry in the past, they're warranted. It's our job to show them that that's not how business is done anymore, right? It's very different business. It's much more transparent. There's much more information that's available to people, and we're much more customer focused than I think the car industry was, 20, 30 years ago. I'm more focused on providing good customer service and relationships, because I think if you take care of people, money will always come. So I think just the philosophy and the focus for us has changed, where I was constantly chasing a paycheck, and now I'm just constantly trying to take care of customers and employees, because I know if I do that, then my paycheck will take care of itself.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
Jake was suffering from osteoarthritis when his doctors asked him to consider surgery.
However, there's a 9-month recovery period where essentially you're not walking and you're not putting much in the way of weight on.
That wasn't going to work for him, so he decided to see Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine for stem cell therapy.
I heard the ads, and that caused me to do due diligence.
And how are you doing now?
There's not really any pain now at all. I have no limitations in what I want to do.
Wow, so you're able to do anything you want to do?
I recently played golf at Cycle House down in Pebble Beach, walked 18 holes, which I hadn't been able to do for a number of years, and then went for about a 2-mile walk with my friend.
I take it you'd recommend stem cell therapy to others then?
Absolutely. Had I known then what I know now, I would have done this several years ago and saved myself a lot of pain and suffering and agony and limitation to activity.
Before you choose surgery, consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Schedule your consultation at drmarkwagnermd.com.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right, let's talk about actual potential trade partners for the Seattle Seahawks. What are realistic landing spots? We're going to decide this by looking at, obviously, eliminating the NFC West.
I don't think the Seahawks are doing business.
I don't know that you want to send them to the Rams. It's just, just my impression from that. So a lot of these teams, 4 of these 5 are AFC teams. We're looking at available cap space, need for receiver, in particular, a type of receiver like DK. And then we looked at some of their draft picks that they could offer in return. So do I think they will offer these? Sometimes no, but I'm going to list them anyways. We'll start with this one and go quickly because we've talked about this team quite a bit already today. But the Chargers feel like the obvious thing on the planet. Curtis, they have, I believe, about $60 million in cap space, picks number 22 and 55, the first and second round respectively, and they badly, badly need a wide receiver. I think if they stuck with 22 and never traded for DK, they would use 22 on a pass catcher.
Right. It just seems like the most obvious fit in terms of the kind of player the DK is, the amount of available cap space that the Chargers are working with, and then also the draft pick compensation. It just seems like a great match for both parties. Will it happen? Remains to be seen because we don't know how any of these other teams are how aggressive they're going to be, but the Chargers make the most sense.
Daniel Jeremiah on Move the Sticks said he likes that fit with the Chargers.
If the Chargers lined up week 1 next year, Buck, and you've got Justin Herbert, and then you look out in the formation and you've got DK Metcalf out wide, you've got Ladd McConkey in the slot, and all of a sudden we've got Omari and Hampton lined up behind Justin Herbert. You talk about a team that needed to get more explosive. You throw Omari and Hampton in the backfield and DK Metcalf out wide with Ladd McConkey still there. That's a different looking offense.
All right. We're moving on from the Chargers because we've talked about them a lot today. They are, I think, everyone's immediate thought for a landing spot because everyone knows the Chargers are desperately seeking wide receivers and have some draft picks and money to spend, as well as a young quarterback with which to pair that receiver. Let's move on to our next team. I have the Patriots.
Interesting.
They are another team that is wide receiver needy. They have 4 overall, which I don't think they would trade.
You're not getting a first from the Patriots.
They do have a high second rounder at, I think, 35
Be talked
overall.
into that.
You know what I mean? It's like the 3rd pick of the second round, I think. Or maybe the second. I don't know. Either way. The Patriots are on this list in part because there was this report we had in the timeline yesterday by an NBC Sports reporter who said that the Patriots had maybe reached out to the Eagles for A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
That's intriguing to me because I don't think the Eagles are shopping A.J. Brown.
No, I don't think they have any incentive to shop him, considering how vital he was to their Super Bowl championship team.
So is it wild for me to think the audacity you must have as a team to call for a team, to call about a wide receiver that isn't being shopped around? You're clearly aggressively seeking an answer.
Yeah, and Drake May definitely showed a lot in his rookie season, a lot of promise. And obviously the Patriots want to do everything they can to surround him with that. You look at the Patriots, like, let's say you trade for DK Metcalf with your second-round pick, what have you. Then you draft maybe Travis Hunter at 4 overall. You're looking at now, I mean, if you want to have Travis Hunter be a wide receiver, you're looking at a much improved wide receiver room over what you have had over the last couple of years. And plus, you also have, Jalen Polk, who you took in the second round last year. So that's a lot of investment in that position. And that's, definitely the route you want to take when you have a young quarterback like Drake May. I just don't know if DK would assure the Patriots that he would sign an extension with them because, as it was noted lots and lots of times, underlined, highlighted in, Adam Schefter's tweet about this, DK is seeking to go to a contender. The Patriots have been cheeks for like 3 or 4 years now and don't really have much going for them other than Drake May. And I don't know if that's going to be a big enough selling point for DK. What Drake May is right now, I don't know if he's much better than what Geno Smith is with the Seahawks. I think Drake May definitely has the potential to be a lot better than Geno Smith simply because he's young enough. But I don't know if the Patriots are a team that DK would assure an extension being signed with.
Yeah, they weren't even in the playoffs last year. My next 3 teams were all in the playoffs, though. So tell me what you think about the Bills.
That they are definitely contenders in the AFC, and Josh Allen is an elite quarterback in today's game. Those 2 things I think are big selling points for DK, and I think the Bills would have to be a team that you at least take a call from, especially because they're not in your conference either.
Right,
Like,
you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you're not going to have to face the Bills outside of every 4 years.
Now, if I were the Bills, I'd be far more comfortable parting ways with a 30th overall draft pick, which is what they have, than I would if I were the Patriots parting ways with 4th overall. Like, there's no way I'm giving up that pick.
No.
Unless it's to trade up or get, I don't know. But they don't immediately have the cap space. So they need to straighten that out. They would need to do some work to get an extension for DK.
Yes.
But hey, when a team wants to get someone, they can. The one thing I'll say about the Bills, they do kind of have someone they hope can become a DK Metcalf. They drafted Keon Coleman to be that big outside receiver. He had a solid rookie season, but their main target was their slot guy, Khalil Shakir, and they signed him to an extension. I think it could be tempting to have another outside guy, and DK is not as old as would be some other targets. I also think the Bills are one of those teams like the Chiefs that might go, maybe we add Adams. I mean, they're not going to have a reunion with Diggs. But maybe we just...
That ship has sailed.
We need a veteran to pair with our soon-to-be second-year player, Keon Coleman, and you got a nice trio there.
That would be a much deeper wide receiver room than what they've had in years past. It was Diggs and Gabe Davis mostly for the last couple of years. Both those guys have moved on. I think... Two, it's a much more, multifaceted wide receiver room with Shakir, DK, Keon Coleman. I don't know if DK would want to play in the cold either like that because it's just so brutally cold.
DK, I'm sorry. I can't send you to a contender that has a young, great quarterback and also it's always sunny. I don't know what to tell you.
We can't check every box for you, dude.
Sorry. Okay, the next 2 I'm just going to wrap together so that we don't go over here. I wrote the Steelers and Packers.
Okay.
And again, these last 3 are all places where you're like, yeah, I could see it, but I could also see them passing. So what do you think of either Pittsburgh or Green Bay?
The Steelers have had so much interest in every wide receiver that has hit the market, but have not been able to land any of them. It would make a lot of sense in terms of what their need is. I just don't know if they want to deal with another receiver that is as opinionated as DK, is as, you got to kind of treat him with oven mitts sometimes. You've got George Pickens there who is very similar in terms of his personality.
But have no one behind George Pickens.
Exactly. So, yes, it makes sense from a football standpoint for Pittsburgh. And then Green Bay, I just don't know if the Seahawks want to trade with a team that is one team that you're trying to chase down in the NFC. Like, you're helping out your competition, maybe not your direct competition in the NFC West, but a team that finished with, 11 wins, and you had 10 wins this last season? You're making them better? I don't know about that.
All right, Dave Wyman joining us next.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
We are now speaking with the architect of your Seattle Seahawks.
How we doing, football fans?
With Seahawks President of Football Operations and General Manager John Schneider.
My job is to do what's best for the Seattle Seahawks organization. I have to keep wrapping my mind around that and trying to communicate effectively.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
What's the standard the Seahawks defense needs to be held to under Mike McDonald?
The John Schneider Show.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
At Rocket, we believe everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. So if you're feeling locked out of home ownership, we're here to give you back the keys. We're opening doors, breaking down walls, and doing everything we can to turn renters into owners. And we're not going to stop until we help everyone home. To find out more, visit rocket.com. Rocket, own the dream.
ZipRecruiter is the place. ZipRecruiter is the place for talented teachers, savvy software developers, and master mixologists. ZipRecruiter is the place where you meet all these people and more. That's because ZipRecruiter is the place for job seekers who are looking for new opportunities. In fact, ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day, so you can find the right candidates right away. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hey, Brock Hewitt here for my friends at PCF Group, or People Come First Construction Group, and that's exactly what they did when we made the call a couple years ago. We wanted to redo our outdoor space, wanted to add a deck, and outdoor living, a television, and a kitchen. And PCF Group, wow, they more than delivered. And if you're interested in building a stunning outdoor area like we did, I cannot recommend them enough. Reach out before the good weather arrives, and their schedule, well, it's going to fill up. So whether you're looking for a complete outdoor living space or a very specific project like an underdeck ceiling, deck, patio cover, railings, PCF has you covered. Design now and pay later. In fact, get 12 months, no interest and no payments, and up to $6,000 off and a $1,000 Amazon gift card. Request a complimentary design and estimate consultation at 425-629-8476 or project ideas. Explore photos at pcfgroup.com. That's 425-629-8476.
Let's talk about your hair. Well, maybe after we talk about my hair. I've got great hair, as you know, and it's because of Advanced Hair. Yep, Advanced Hair Restoration. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results that I can attest to. Guys, it's not magic, but it's close to it. They put hair where you need it most, and bam, it grows. It's actual science. Advanced Hair has top-rated physicians, modern technology, and best of all, you get your very own natural hair that begins to regrow the very next day. It's even guaranteed to grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now at 425-449-8185. Mention Curly to qualify for $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. It's a limited time offer. Advanced Hair, the winner of the 425 Business of the Year, and the team that gave me my hair back. More importantly, they'll do the same for you, guaranteed. 425-449-8185 or advancedhair.com.
At Sound Pain Solutions, some of the most difficult cases we see are patients suffering from failed back surgery syndrome. Bill is an avid golfer, but his pain got so bad he couldn't play and was considering surgery.
My back was killing me. I could not play any more golf. I could not walk more than half a block. I did not want surgery on my back, and I researched many different ways of getting this fixed. Behind that was horror stories from my friends who had back surgery, but it wasn't worth it, and I just made conclusion to that. There's got to be another way.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. We were able to get Bill back on the course without the risk of surgery. We did this using non-invasive, FDA-cleared procedures like non-surgical decompression, laser, pressure wave, and bioelectrical treatments. Now, Bill is back to playing golf and enjoying life. Schedule a free consultation to learn if you qualify for our non-surgical and drug-free treatment by calling Sound Pain Solutions or visiting soundpainsolutions.com.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit revivemenshealth.com.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
The Browns have restructured Deshaun Watson's contract once again, per ESPN's Adam Schefter, clearing nearly $36 million in salary cap space. Prior to that move, they were $22 million over the cap. A big name on the move, the Chargers have released edge Joey Bosa after 9 years with the team, clearing $25 million in cap space. Bosa, a 5-time Pro Bowler, had always said he wanted to retire as a Charger, but he's had trouble staying on the field, starting just 18 games over the last 3 years.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Dave Wyman joining us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook hotline from Peoria, by the way. And Dave, I just want to confirm while we dive in, are you guys still having the John Schneider show today?
Yes, we are. We're going to talk to him, and obviously lots of news.
What are you guys going to talk about?
I don't know of anything that went down yesterday.
Really dry topics here.
Yeah. That was a bombshell. So that'll be interesting. Talking to him about it, I don't know how much we're going to get out of it, other than the just more kind of the feeling and the emotions and things like that, rather than just looking at the transaction. So yeah, it was very. I don't know about you guys and what you guys talked about, but man, that was really surprising to me.
Yeah, it was one that I don't think any of us were expecting it, specifically at that time, because the Tyler Lockett news had happened moments prior, and then all of a sudden you get this other news bulletin. Oh, by the way, DK Metcalf is requesting a trade. So you just kind of dump everything that you had planned about Tyler Lockett and then move on to the DK Metcalf news. But, Dave, we've had about 24 hours now to digest the DK Metcalf news. What are you feeling about just kind of what the Seahawks should do right now? Because, I mean, look, they could also hold on to him. That's within their right. They don't have to trade him. So what do you think they do here?
Well, it's a good point, C. Raj, because, one of the things that we've said about him is that he has never done anything. Well, I mean, some of the penalties on the field when he loses his cool, yeah, I guess that hurts the team. But, we've never heard him complain about lack of targets, right? So, and I just wonder, the speculation I had was, number one, we looked at his targets, the first part of the year, and then he played more games the second part of the year, after the injury, and it was 61 targets in the first half and 41 in the second half, and they really got the ball to JSN quite a bit. But, but he's never complained about that. He's never been a guy. So, yeah, let's say that they do hang on to him. I do think that he has the kind of character that he's not going to complain. He's not going to mope and whine and be a problem. He's just going to go out there and play as hard as he possibly can, which really behooves any player in the NFL. You don't want to put stuff on tape. It's all about what do you put on tape? What are other teams seeing from you? You want, I always tell the story that in 1992, when we were 2-14, I wanted everybody who looked at our tape to know that I wasn't the reason why we were 2-14. So, I mean, it all comes down to that. So if they did, end up keeping him even after, they couldn't find a trade partner, I would still expect DK to play his tail off.
Wyman, you were on with Brock and Salk either yesterday or the day before, and you guys talked a little bit, mostly Mariners, but talked a little bit about the DK stuff. And you were of the opinion of Yeah, maybe there are talks. John Schneider is probably taking calls all the time on players, but it felt like you were very pro keep DK in Seattle. Why for you was it really important, or is it really important for the Seahawks to find a way to do that?
Well, I don't know about now. I mean, you're right. I mean, it
ship
still
might have sailed now.
Yeah, a little bit. But, I just have always, well, this is what was so weird to me, is that I'm going to step inside because there's a small airport nearby here, and the planes are just
buzzing your
so
tower.
annoying, very annoying. But yeah, I mean, I've always said I thought DK is just a special player. Now I'm inside and Lefko's making noise, so I don't know where to
God,
go.
Lefko, shut up. He gets one first overall pick for his team and gets so cocky.
Yeah. I've always thought, and there was lots of times where I was in the booth and I'm looking down and I'm seeing DK singled and there's no safety over the top, and I'm like, just throw it up, because how many times does he get, draws a penalty?
Yeah.
Because, they're trying to cover him. So there's just nobody like him. There's nobody that's 6'4", 235 pounds. And I just think that's very valuable. And I do think that, look, maybe he's making a stink, and if they do keep him, he will go out there and he'll be a warrior. I don't think, he comes from a football family and all that. But I don't know. I always like to blame the agent. Like with Russell Wilson, I would always just blame his agent, not him. But, when you have an agent, you're in control of him, and I had the most premier agent, Marvin Demoff, who was representing Elway and Marino. But I instructed him, I'm never going to hold out from camp. I'm never going to miss camp. So just make sure whatever you do, that's, I instructed him. And so, you would think that DK would instruct his agency, and, so, yeah, I don't know, man. It's really a tough one, especially, and like you guys said, you want to celebrate Tyler Lockett, and I know how much DK loves Tyler Lockett. So why would he do that? The whole thing very mystifying. So I'm just very curious, like a lot of people, just to see how this plays out.
You bring up Tyler Lockett's departure on the same day as DK Metcalf's trade request. All of a sudden now, one of the Seahawks' biggest strengths was their wide receiver group, but it could now be one of their biggest needs heading into the draft. So what does this do for their draft strategy, you think? Do you see the Seahawks maybe going for a receiver on day one or day two, or is this something that maybe they might address in free agency? Because there's a lot of veteran names available, maybe not guys with the the ceiling is DK, but there's going to be avenues to replenish the wide receiver group.
Yeah, and look, you had an abundance of receivers last year with the emergence of hopefully of Bobo. That didn't really happen. Mostly it was JSN, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf. But look, we found out pretty early on that if you want to win a football game, you had to put the ball in the hands of Geno and just throw the ball, because they couldn't run it. So and this is something I speculated on as well, that maybe DK is looking at the new coaching staff, and that they're going to go much more heavy run, and that there's just not going to be enough targets for him, possibly. So yeah, I mean, I think that could have been one of the reasons why. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys did this for Tyler Lockett. Tyler, I was trying to think of what are the 3 top plays, and obviously in 2019, where against the Rams, where he had the toe tap catch in the corner. And then he had one where we were playing the Niners during the pandemic in Arizona, and Russell threw a fastball that hit him in the forearm, and he told us that it really hurt. But he still was able to catch the ball. And then, the other one, I hate bringing this up, but it's kind of like Walter Jones giving up a sack. It's so monumental. And I remember in 2020, he dropped a pass against the Dolphins, and it just stood out to me because he catches everything. He catches every single thing. So, yeah, kind of interesting little I mean, we were trying as much as we could to not mention the DK thing and just kind of talk about Tyler and, what he has meant to this team.
I'm sure we will get back to both of those, but I want to ask this before I forget, because I know I will. We got news late yesterday that Ernest Jones had off-season knee surgery. I know that Jones was dealing with knee issues. I don't know if it's the same knee or the similar issue with the Rams, and it was rumored that that was part of why they moved on. Maybe it wasn't at all, but I am curious as to your thoughts, whether that concerns you at all, or whether you saw that and went, not worried about it. That extension's coming.
Yeah, I mean, typically I would say, yeah, that's a problem, a knee surgery. But number one, they've gotten so good at doing that. And, guys, the recovery time is so much better nowadays. But also, he played really well. So whatever knee injury he was playing on didn't really bother him. I think whatever Bob read to me as we were driving home last night was like something from the agent. Like, well, now he's really going to be good. I mean, they were trying to turn it into like a positive.
He's going to have super knees.
Yeah, super strength knee surgery. So, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, like it was an ACL or anything. We'll see, what that was all about. But I just think I would think he would be such a priority to bring back because, I've said this a lot. McDonald, if he was to coach one position, it would be inside linebackers. He's very particular about that. And what they did, signing Dodson and Baker and then just moving on from them, and they weren't going to drag their feet on that, and they got the right combination in there. So hopefully that that doesn't end up being a big deal and a sticking point. But I feel like one of the things I mentioned is that after the season, we got a chance to talk to Ernest Jones. And now the season was over, and he didn't have to call in, but he did. So I think he's all in here. Also, the fact that he has a family, and this is his third franchise in the last couple of years. I think he wants to settle down somewhere, and so I don't see a problem in getting that signed. But then I looked at the Zach Bond signing, who is an inside off-the-ball linebacker, and he got $17 million a year. So I don't know if the Seahawks are prepared to pay that or not.
Dave, switching over to your guys' trip down to Peoria this week, you guys have had quite a number of players stop by the set there. Have any conversations you guys have had stood out to you as some of your favorites from the week?
Yeah, yesterday we talked to Mitch Garver. And, Mitch is not one for the media, but it's kind of interesting. I asked him about the personality of each of these pitchers, and I said something about George Kirby. And he if you go back and listen to it, it's really interesting. He said, he took him into the hallway, like in between innings, and he told Kirby, he's like, we're going to talk, okay? You and I are going to talk. Because Kirby is very quiet. And, he just talked about the strategy and things like that, and was very verbal with George Kirby. And obviously it worked because Kirby had a great year, and he caught Kirby, I think, more than Cal did. So, that was kind of cool hearing that part of it. I think we'd yet to talk to Bryce Miller, but, you have Ryan Dempster, who we had on, national guy, obviously does MLB Network. He was talking about Bryce Miller being like Cy Young worthy. So, and Bryce Young's probably the guy we talk about the least. We had a good conversation with Brian Wu, who just seems totally confident. Of course, we talk to Logan every year, and he sounds great. But it's more and more excitement around the rotation and what these guys can be, and just the confidence that you hear, and kind of an expectancy of greatness. Like, I talked about the facility and how much money they put into that and how different it is from years past. And as a player, you kind of get that. You kind of get that, hey, the franchise is investing. Now, they didn't invest in off-season free agents, of course, but they've done a good job developing people, and they've put a lot of money into their facility. They're very serious about getting better with the coaching and things like that. So yeah, it's just kind of a different feel down here. Was maybe just in general the one feel that I got. Rather than talking about individual guys, I think just everybody together, it just seems like they expect to make the playoffs, that they're a playoff team.
I've been kind of wondering, like, I don't like the idea of saying, oh, it's April, oh, it's May, because we know how the Mariners have come so close by, like, maybe a game or two. So I'm done with saying it's too early. However, I do think you have to gauge what success looks like differently throughout the year. Like, it's okay to have more wiggle room in April. That being said, at least to start the season for the first couple months, Dave, what's something you want to see more of and something you want to see less of compared to last year?
Well, certainly less strikeouts.
Fair.
I mean, that was
I'm like Family Feud. Good answer. Same.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody. I'm not a genius for coming up with that one, right? But you look at every year, really, but especially last year. And then what we talked about is by the end of the year, I want to say they got up to number 16 or 17 on base percentage. Mm-hmm. And so that was a pretty good repair because they were between 25 and 30 as far as where they rank for, whether it's runs or batting average or on base percentage, slug, all of that. They're 25 to 30. So if they can just get middle of the pack, really. I mean, it's kind of what we talked about last year with the Seahawks defense. Like, if the offense just stays the same and the defense, repairs and gets better, and they did, and, that got them double-digit wins. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that's, if they can just kind of creep up slowly with those numbers, the pitching is so damn good that, they can maybe make a run. And again, and I forget this, that they missed the playoffs by one game. So, and I always go back to that Detroit series. I remember I was down in Tennessee and looking, watching the joint practice, and that was just unexpected. I think they had taken a series from the Mets, and it looked like they were really going to be good. And, that was kind of their downfall if you look back at, what kept them out of the playoffs. But, yeah, I feel like they're so good pitching. We'll see about their defense. I mean, that was one of the things that Serbs always said, hey, if you can pitch and play good defense, you're going to make it, to the playoffs. So we'll see about, Polanco at third base, Dylan Moore, an everyday player, those kinds of things. But, man, if they can just get – and you mentioned, Stacy, I mean, early on, too, I think for the fans it would really help for them to get off to a fast start this year.
Yeah, no kidding. He is Dave Wyman. Dave, enjoy Peoria, and we
enjoy another comically large strawberry daiquiri.
Oh, my God, please do, Dave. And then we can't wait to hear you guys interview John Schneider later today at 4.
Okay. Well, that'll probably be my last margarita or whatever the hell that was. But, yeah, we'll get after John Schneider, get all the answers.
Bye, Wyman.
Thanks, Dave.
See you guys. Thanks for having me.
Let's get to 4 down territory.
This is 4 down territory, going inside the game with former Seahawks and Coug wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
Stacy, first down to you. Why would trading DK not be the worst idea for a Clint Kubiak offense?
I know it sounds crazy, but Yahoo Sports' Nate Tice was on with us yesterday and had a take on DK that I hadn't heard before.
The X in a Shanahan-Kubiak offense is maybe more of a varied route tree guy than DK is. And DK is a vertical guy, a slant guy. His kind of what he's good at, I would say it's limited, but he's good at certain things and kind of iffy on some other things.
I'll give DK credit here. He's been knocked on his route running before and a lot of other things that people just didn't think would translate to the NFL, and he's mostly proven them wrong. But that being said, it's not like the highlight of his game. I assumed Kubiak, whose offensive philosophy kind of stems from a West Coast offense, would want DK as a target over the top because you want to take these shorter shots and have some kind of complementary gain to shorter gains from your halfbacks or JSN, and then bam, target DK downfield. It's more complicated than that, and I know that. And Tice seems to think that while you certainly love having that big outside receiver, maybe there is a better fit for Kubiak somewhere else.
Second down. Stacy, you and I talked about 4 potential DK landing spots earlier in the show. None were in the NFC. So is there an NFC team that could be a fit?
Okay, so I mistyped that. We had one in the NFC, which was the Packers. So anyone saying, what about the Packers? I didn't have them as part of this answer because we mentioned it earlier. Instead, I had to choose another NFC team. It's not going to be the Rams, Cardinals, or 49ers. So I went with the Cowboys. Now, if it were me, if I were Jerry Jones, not only would I be filthy rich, but I would not spend $30 million on 2 receivers, which they would be doing with CeeDee Lamb and DK Metcalf. So I understand that would be a lot of resources dedicated to those 2 guys. However, they need another key target in addition to Lamb. A little depth is needed behind him. They're facing pressure to win now. They just cleared $60 million in cap space. Jerry loves a flashy, splashy move, and this sure would fit the bill there. But one thing to consider, the Cowboys need to re-sign some of their own guys. So I know we see that freed up money and we go, whoo, what are the Cowboys going to do with this? They've got guys in-house they got to figure out, including figuring out what to do with Micah Parsons. So maybe that's where their priorities are right now.
3rd down. Stacy, do you think Geno Smith or the Seahawks missing the playoffs played a factor in DK's decision to request a trade?
I think DK just wants to get paid like a top receiver. I really do. And the Seahawks, if he really was asking for around $30 million, the Seahawks seem hesitant to do that. In parts because he doesn't have to be the top receiver in this offense. We saw that from JSN last year. He saw 108 targets last season. With the emergence of JSN, he might see even less in an offense that's going to be recentering itself around the run game. So if it's not a fit for him anymore and the Seahawks don't want to pay him $30+ million, no one's really the bad guy here. And I don't think that Geno or any other player or even the Seahawks missing the playoffs are part of that decision.
4th down. Stacy, could DK Metcalf be one of those top 5 guys in terms of receiving yards?
Cop-out answer, I don't think so, but maybe. And the reason I say maybe, well, we all know the reasons I say I don't think so, because we've asked Bump a million questions about what separates DK, or rather what separates Justin Jefferson and Jamar from some other guys in the league, and those are just rare talents.
Right.
But I say maybe because DK has never seen the target share that Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase have. The most targets DK has ever had in a season is 141 in 2022. He had 108 last year, like I said. His best season in terms of production actually came off 129 targets. Mm-hmm. He was 31st league-wide in targets last year, 12th in average yards per catch, though, meaning, for lack of a better way to phrase this, his catches were more valuable than some other high-volume guys. Maybe more volume for him because he can be a big gain receiver does lead to some of those crazy stats. Maybe there's a 1,400 season in him. You know, if he gets 150 targets, which seems insane, but we're seeing guys do that now. However, I think getting like 1,000 to 1,200 yards a season is amazing production. And it's okay if that's, I don't want to say all DK gives you, because in most offenses, that's your top guy. But I would be curious to see what DK would look like in an offense that passes the ball that much and that often to one receiver. I just don't know how many of those teams are going to be fitting the bill for what Seattle's looking for in a trade partner. How many of those teams would be willing to trade for Metcalf to do that? I think it's the reason the Chargers are so intriguing to a lot of people, because they go, well, they got Justin Herbert. Maybe they throw it a lot more if he's got better weapons. So I don't know. That keeps LA very intriguing for me.
Yeah, and I think, too, you look at what his numbers were pre-injury this last season, he was in the top 5 of receiving yards. Like, he was putting up those kinds of numbers before he got hurt, before he had to miss a couple of weeks, and then JSN took over and didn't look back as the number 1 receiver the rest of the season. So it's kind of one of those, what do they call it, a sliding glass door moment of the 2024 Seahawks season.
Like,
it was like,
happened?
If DK stays healthy, what becomes of JSN's productivity at the end of the season? What becomes of DK's? Because kind of felt they were going in opposite directions.
Yeah, really good point. I know that we're really DK heavy today, but it is one of the top stories around the NFL. Very relevant to Seattle. So, look, it's not going to be the last time that we're going to talk about DK today, but we've got a break coming up. At noon, we're going to talk about the Mariners. A really fascinating question posed by you, Curtis, in a show email. Are the Mariners getting the most bang for their buck when they do spend? We all complain about them not opening the wallet. When they do, are they making the most of it? And if they're not, how do they change that? That's the conversation that's happening at noon. Before we get to that, someone couldn't help but weigh in on Instagram Live. Yes, it's a 49ers player about DK's trade request. That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
People still weighing in on Geno and options, alternatives. Some saying, well, you guys are just satisfied with mediocrity. Some saying, get rid of him, take that 45, put it all into the O-line, and in 2 to 4 years, you're going to be ready to go.
With who at quarterback?
I don't know.
Somebody that you draft somebody in the third round, like Russell Wilson?
Well, maybe somebody you draft in the next year's draft when it's going to be maybe a better quarterback draft. I don't know. This feels like the wrong year to be looking. It doesn't mean one of these guys won't become superstars. We'll see.
Streaming live on the Seattle Sports app.
After years of wear and tear, Joe had osteoarthritis in his wrists and shoulders.
I've pretty much worked out my whole life. I actually decided I'm going to train for a half Ironman triathlon.
The pain was interfering with every part of his life.
Basically, can't sleep, causing those kind of problems, very limited movement.
Joe had surgery, but it wasn't the fix he was looking for.
The doctor told me, he's like, hey, this is just going to be a partial fix. You're going to eventually need joint replacement.
That's when he decided to see Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine for stem cell therapy.
And they're just getting better. I can basically do full motion. I don't have really any pain.
What kinds of things are you able to do now that you weren't before?
I like to golf, and it definitely has made my golf game not as painful. And sleeping. I mean, I'm sleeping better because I don't have that aching at night going on and having to roll over.
So, are you recommending this to others?
Oh, everybody I talk to. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Before you choose surgery, consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Schedule your consultation at drmarkwagnermd.com.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. For over 55 years, you've trusted us for roofing, siding, windows, decking, and gutters. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to schedule a free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it. Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
No matter how old you get, you always remember that one great teacher. Hi, this is Rick Riz, inviting you to join WSECU in celebrating Teacher of the Week. Great teachers inspire. Nominate a teacher you feel has changed a life in our community. This year, we're going to honor 24 great teachers with grants of $500, courtesy of WSECU, the credit union for Washington. Teachers are the real MVPs. Nominate an exceptional teacher now at mynorthwest.com/teacher.
Tingling and numbness or burning pain in the feet or hands are warning signs of peripheral neuropathy. For years, Sound Pain Solutions has helped thousands using our innovative narcotic-free approach. Now we're excited to introduce our most powerful treatment yet,
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and functional neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. We've discovered a new bioelectrical treatment that produces remarkable results. Studies show 85% of neuropathy sufferers report a 50% reduction in pain. Our new therapy can reduce pain and regenerate damaged nerves, is performed by medical providers and naturopathic physicians. It's a breakthrough treatment that has changed the lives of thousands who suffer from nerve pain. At Sound Pain Solutions, all our therapies are non-surgical, FDA cleared, and narcotic free. Learn if you qualify for our new neuropathy treatment. Schedule a free consultation by visiting soundpainsolutions.com. soundpainsolutions.com.
This is the story of the one. He's responsible for keeping a leading healthcare facility clean and safe. And he trusts Grainger's high-quality HVAC cleaning and safety products, combined with their world-class supply chain, to consistently deliver, ensuring he's covered inside and out, so he can focus on keeping his facility clean to help protect the health of everyone inside. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is The Timeline
with Bump and Stacy.
Brought to you by 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
It is The Timeline on Bump and Stacy. Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus today.
Hey.
We'll start with this story right out of the NFC West. And yes, it's still about DK Metcalf, but that's okay. 49ers corner Diamador Lenore. Now, before I keep going, what was he involved in earlier with DK? Do you remember?
It was after the Thursday night game. He was jawing on Instagram Live. That's his preferred platform, I think, is Instagram Live.
He's an influencer.
He is. Side note, I would be so nervous if I ever went live on Instagram Live. I don't know what I would talk about.
People have made mistakes in the past.
Shannon Sharp, most notably. I don't think he went on Instagram Live on purpose, though, that day. Maybe he did.
Definitely done that, though, where you're like, am I, like, Twitter will get me where I'm like, am I on Twitter Space? Am I on live? Like, what is this?
But I digress.
Yeah.
Diamador Lenore was chirping at DK Metcalf after the Thursday night game where the ball bounces off of DK's hands and the 49ers pick it off, and that was the end of the game. So he's continuing this. I don't think DK ever chirped back at him, which credit to DK, because
maybe in a way we didn't see or hear about.
Maybe. Yeah, he might have been a little bit subtle about it. But here's Diamador Lenore again trying to go at DK for basically ducking him.
Y'all cannot let DK leave. Y'all can't do that. Who I'm gonna have, how am I have fun out there? The Jigba, he be crying all day. He cry. That's all he do is cry. Ref, he holding, ref. Oh no, don't hurt me. Cry, baby. Bro, I'm not worried about JSN. I'm not. He know that. He know that. God, he know that. For sure. But back to DK, we can't let you leave, bro, unless you want to be a Niner.
So, I think that what this is Diamador Lenore resetting the scene and saying, I have a new target of my insults.
Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Welcome, JSN, to, the idea of being the main target of Diamador when it comes to trash talk.
So, sure. Now JSN assumes that throne from Diamador, right? I guess it's an honor. Whatever. But if you look at JSN's numbers in the last game that they played against the 49ers, JSN was cooking that day. 11 targets, 10 receptions, 110 yards in a Seahawks win over the 49ers. And thanks to some tech-savvy 12s out there, they spliced together the all-22 film of that day, and there are countless plays where Diamador Lenore is just on his back, just getting blocked by every Seahawk in the building that day. It's like, dude, you did not stand a chance that day against the Seahawks and JSN.
Respectfully, I can't do what Diamador Lenore does, so I recognize that. I don't have his football IQ. I recognize that. But he does strike me as someone who would get beat bad and then be like, we'll get you next.
Yeah. Or he strikes me as
trash.
He strikes me as one of those DBs that would celebrate if the quarterback overthrows the receiver.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, look what I did. Look what I did.
And it's like,
yeah.
bro, what are you talking about? That was Mac Jones.
Yeah. That ball was 20 yards over everybody's head.
A fan caught it. Yeah. Nothing was going to
happen.
happen.
You don't throw on me. You don't throw on me.
Next up, Barry Bonds told the All the Smoke podcast, Shohei Ohtani and players of this era have it easier than he did when he was playing.
The game has just changed. Okay. I mean, the game is way different than it is than when I played. The same way Michael talks about it or anyone else. Ohtani is not going to hit 2 home runs without seeing one go right here. In my generation, I don't care what he does. He's not going to steal 2 bases without somebody decapitating his kneecap and slow him down, because it's a different game back then. Today's game, they take batting practice all day. They take batting practice at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up. These guys hit more than I've ever seen in my entire lifetime that we didn't do. And they should be better than us as hitting-wise, because they can hit a home run, flip their bat up in the air, run around, get a taco, come back down, have a limo, drive them around. You know, all these antics that we weren't allowed to do. If I did anything like that, there's no way I'm going to see a star. Wow. You know, I'll see the hospital, but I ain't going to see baseball that day.
I have a thought on this, but I want to hear what you think first.
This is just kind of classic old athlete. My era is better than the current era. And look, I think Barry Bonds has a right to say this more than anybody who played. Who played in that era. Yes, put him in the Hall of Fame. And Barry Bonds could probably still hit 15 to 20 home runs if he wanted to, even though I think he's probably pushing 60.
Honestly,
at this point.
sign him to the Mariners.
Yeah. They need help at DH. Yeah. They've always needed help at DH. I think that, yes, he is right in that the players in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, they did not let batters get comfortable, where you were going to see more pitches up and in. You were going to go see more pitches on your hands. And if you had routine success off somebody, you were probably going to get a pitch to the back or the side. That doesn't really happen so much anymore, because as we all know, if you hit a batter, that is, you know, they get first base. It's the same as a single, the same as a walk, and outs are so valuable that teams just don't mess around like that anymore. But I think Shohei Ohtani, much like Barry Bonds, could have success in any era that he plays in.
I think, yes, I absolutely agree. I think that in any conversation we have comparing older generations and what things used to be like with current iterations of any league, any sport, almost always the conversation comes down to trading toughness for finesse and skill. Almost across, you do this about baseball, you could do this about football, you could do this about almost anything, with some things excluded, where you go, people used to have to be tougher. Scoring was different, right? Like in the NBA, you didn't have the prevalence of the 3. Like you could be more physical. You had to, right? Like it was different. You could say same thing Barry said in baseball. Like you just had to be tougher. But the one thing, those conversations, which are true, same with football. Like you just, quarterbacks had to stand in the pocket and take big shots. Wide receivers were hung out to dry and hit by DBs. No flag for that play. But one thing those conversations always ignore is the way that the athlete, that quite literally the human body, has evolved.
Right.
In a very short period of time. We're seeing velocities we've never seen before. We are seeing edge rushers, big, strong, fast, running crazy 40 times. We're seeing more accuracy from quarterbacks than we've ever seen before. A harder job for DBs, right? Like that's just a fact.
Right. And also, Bonds is only focusing on the hitting aspect of Ohtani. Like, dude is still one of the best pitchers in all of baseball.
Very important thing about Ohtani.
Yeah, like, Ohtani could then get back at one of these teams by putting a ball up and in on somebody. It's not like, he doesn't have that power to get back in that way at his opponents. So, I mean, sure, Shohei Ohtani may have it easier hitting in 2025 than maybe he would in 2005, but like he is a player that would transcend generations. He's a player that we all need to stand up and take notice of, because he makes it look so easy when in reality it is nowhere close to being that. Like no one has done this. This is basically like if Barry Bonds also was a Cy Young caliber pitcher in addition to what he was as a hitter. Like, Shohei Ohtani won MVP last year as a DH. Like, didn't play the field at all. He was the most valuable player simply off of how great of a hitter he was.
Albert Breer joined Brock and Salk earlier this morning and explained why he thinks DK and the Seahawks have met a crossroads here. That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Mike Tirico, best in the business, just phenomenal.
And ditto back to you guys. I seriously do a bunch of these, and a lot of folks do a great job. You two as a combo in this show is really, really good. I hope the listeners enjoy and appreciate what they have, and I always love coming on with you guys. You're both wonderful, so thanks so much.
They don't. No, they just make fun of us all the time, so that's fine. Thank you for telling them that. Maybe somebody will finally convince them that that's true.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
For over 113 years, Pacific Lamp and Supply Company has been your #1 lighting specialist in Washington, from the Space Needle in Seattle all the way to the Riverwalk in Spokane. With the largest lighting inventory in Washington, Pacific Lamp's knowledgeable and experienced staff can assist with any lighting issue, including intricate lighting and control designs. Plus, they work with all utilities in Washington to get you the best available lighting rebates. Pacific Lamp and Supply Company, Washington's lighting experts since 1912. Visit pacificlamp.com.
I just had Asset Roofing come out and do a full inspection on my roof because I wanted to be proactive and handle any small problems before they became big problems, and they were extremely professional with their communication and recommendations. You really need an expert on your side, and Asset Roofing is on mine. Allow them to work for you, too. You can find out more at AssetRoofingCo.com. That's AssetRoofingCo.com.
Certified work that's never in doubt. Asset Roofing, excellence is on the house.
Your favorite Seattle sports show is available anywhere you go through the Seattle Sports app. Brought to you by Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center Proton Therapy. Full shows and interviews, exclusive video and articles from the home of the Seahawks and Mariners.
The smart way to improve home comfort is a new heat pump. New heat pumps from Home Comfort Alliance provide efficient heating and cooling in one unit. Upgrade today and enjoy 18 months, same as cash financing, and up to 15% off through March. Visit HomeComfortAlliance.com.
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates honesty, and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Celebrate the best of the best in Washington sports with the 90th Annual Sports Star of the Year Award Show on King 5. Legendary athletes and today's stars come together for one spectacular night of sports accolades. Hosted by Steve Rabel and Jordan Babineau, featuring Kenny Mayne, Cal Raleigh, Fred Couples, Jessica Campbell, Gary Payton, and Marshawn Lynch. The 90th Annual Sports Star of the Year Award Show, presented by Microsoft. Saturday, March 8th at 7 on King 5. Visit seattlesports.org for more.
Heading outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nelly on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, where comfort meets elegance. It's Mike Salk here, and this summer you can experience breathtaking Cascade views, world-class dining, and of course the best entertainment. Elevate your next getaway by combining effortless style with the utmost in relaxation. The hotel opens this summer with deluxe king and 2 queen rooms, premiums, grand suites, signature suites, and the breathtaking views of the Cascades and the Snoqualmie Valley. For more details, go to snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
You think your home is pretty cool until that summer heat hits, and suddenly your home isn't that cool. In fact, it's hot. Air conditioning from Washington Energy Services can help. Stay cool this summer with our biggest spring savings event ever. This month only, take up to $4,000 off an energy-efficient Bryant cooling system with exclusive Washington Energy rebates. Ensure your home is always the cool house with air conditioning from Washington Energy Services. Contact us today for a free estimate.
Hi, this is Nancy Penrose, owner of Big Trees in Snohomish. Spring has sprung. Need color to brighten up your yard or privacy trees to keep your neighbors guessing? Now is the time to buy. With hundreds of trees arriving in the nursery daily, Big Trees has the perfect tree for you. Check out our updated inventory list online at bigtreesupply.com or come visit the nursery today.
They say teachers don't impact for a year, but for a lifetime. Hi, this is Rick Riz. Join WSECU, your local credit union, as we celebrate those who give so much with the Teacher of the Week program. Nominate a teacher you feel has changed a life in our community. Each week throughout the season, we'll honor one teacher with a $500 grant, courtesy of WSECU. Teachers are the real MVPs. Find out more and nominate a teacher at mynorthwest.com/teacher.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Albert Breer was on with Brock and Salk this morning. Lots to cover when it comes to the DK Metcalf trade. We'll start with why he thinks DK wants a trade.
I think, the direction of the program's probably one. What type of offense are they going to run? What's it going to look like for him personally? And then, are they going to be willing to pay him going forward? To me, that's the big thing. It's the ball in the bag, right? Like, how much is he going to get the ball now? Is he going to be in position to make 30, 32, 34, whatever $1 million a year based on where the market is going and where, Jamar Chase promises to take the market over the next few months. I think that this is sort of a business decision on where he is going forward. And look, like when he signed a 3-year extension, that's the whole idea of doing it, right? Like, is that you are going to have another bite of the apple. And I think DK wants that bite of the apple now.
Curtis, this is yet another NFL insider who's saying the same thing. And I don't mean that as an insult. What I mean is I have yet to hear a report, an argument from anything that this is anything other than just money and usage, time usage.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of speculation as to, like, is this a sign of strife between DK and Geno?
Or the Seahawks.
Yeah, like, what is going on here? But, I mean, if numerous NFL insiders are saying, no, this is strictly about DK just wanting that next contract, and the Seahawks basically saying, like, no, we're not gonna meet that number, especially if this is your third contract. So, I mean, yes, it's a juicier story if there is, if there's drama going on behind the scenes, which I have not heard of anything. You haven't heard of anything. Bump hasn't heard of anything. But it just seems like this is coming down to dollars and cents. And the Seahawks are very, very, strong in their negotiations. They don't usually budge off of what they want to do. So it kind of comes down to, all right, DK, well, do you want to meet our asking price, or are you going to look for that elsewhere?
I wanted clarity on what exactly the Seahawks, not motive here was, but what the plan was, because we had been hearing about trade rumors for weeks and weeks and weeks. And before we were hearing about actual rumors, we were all wondering whether or not the Seahawks would do it simply because of his cap hit and because, the wide receiver market was just ballooning out of control. Albert Breer thinks that this was the Seahawks approach.
I've actually talked to a couple people in that building that said, like, I sort of hope this plays out like Stafford did, like where, in the end, we all come back together. I don't know how likely that is.
So the Seahawks, from what Albert Breer is hearing, wanted DK to not just be able to test the market, but they wanted to be able to see, like, what can we actually get? Like, if we let it be known that we might be willing to part with him, what are teams actually willing to offer us? And if we don't see anything we like, and if, DK's agent isn't hearing about a team that's interested that he even wants to play for, we don't need to make this trade. Like, we can re-sign DK at $30 million. I wonder if that's gone now, that opportunity.
I think so. I think if things had played out a little more chill, a little more, cooler heads had prevailed after yesterday, then you probably would have seen it kind of play out with like the whole Matthew Stafford thing, where it was like, is he seeking a trade? We don't know. And
I totally thought Matthew Stafford would be traded.
I thought so too.
I thought he'd go to the Raiders.
Well, and hearing the wording of a lot of those reports, it was like the Rams still do hope to have him back in some capacity in 2025. Whereas I haven't heard a single NFL person say the Seahawks do hope to have DK Metcalf back in 2025.
Popular question that I'm seeing all over the Mac and Jacks text line, and that I'm sure everyone who hasn't texted in is wondering, well, if a trade happens, when? Are we talking about before the draft? Are we talking about in the next week? Albert Breer thinks it's the latter.
I think DK will get traded. I do. I think they've got enough guys. Your guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba and Charles Cross, like that you're going to want to pay. I mean, Witherspoon's a little bit further down the line, but like they've got good young players in their roster that they need room to pay. And, I think that they're going to be amenable to trading him. So that'd be my guess, would be that he's traded.
That's a week away, the start of the new league year.
That's quick.
Yeah.
That's going to move fast if the Seahawks do indeed move DK by the start of the league year. But, yeah, they do have bigger fish to fry. And, say what you want about Geno Smith, but figuring out your quarterback spot, much more important than anything else you can do on your roster, and getting that contract either done or figuring out what it is that you want to do with Geno Smith. I can't imagine, I can't say I can't imagine they're going to trade him, because I also felt like the Seahawks were going to trade DK Metcalf, and here we are. Like, I think anything's on the table at this point in the offseason, but I just think the Seahawks realize that they were, a game away from making the playoffs this last year. If they had simply beaten the New York Giants or had beaten the Rams in overtime in that one game, they would have won the division rather than the Rams had. And I think when you're that close to potentially pack it in, it just seems like such a missed opportunity. Like when they traded Russell Wilson, they were coming off a 7-win season. Mm-hmm. They weren't as close to the playoffs then as they are now. And so to then potentially move on from Geno Smith, in addition to DK and to Tyler, it's like, man, that would be such a wasted opportunity, especially considering how wide open the NFC is.
Yeah, say what you will about DK Metcalf, and you maybe you want him to get more yardage, but he makes this team better.
Yes.
And you know what you're getting with DK. If DK's healthy, you're getting minimum 900 yards.
Right.
You're getting 5 touchdowns. And you don't have Tyler Lockett. And I know we all expected Tyler Lockett to be released. And I know last year was a down season for Lockett because he's just getting older. He wasn't used as much. But that's another target. That's another weapon. That's someone who converted a couple third downs for you. So without those two, you're thinking, God, is there so much pressure on John Schneider to, if you want to be a run-centered team, improve your run game, which was not good last year.
No.
So it's not like you're going, the Eagles can survive without A.J. Brown. Like there are other teams that can make it work. The Chiefs can survive without like a top-paid receiver.
Right.
But you need your weapons elsewhere then.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Seattle's weapons right now? Without DK, without Tyler, what are Seattle's offensive weapons?
It's JSN.
And then who?
And you would hope it's Ken Walker by now. But entering year 4, he's got a lot of question marks as to, what he can be at the NFL level. Zach Charbonnet showed it a little bit in that Cardinals game, but again, there's just not a whole lot that, he has shown in his 2 seasons. So, yeah, you're looking at a big, just need in terms of, just weaponry on the offensive side of the ball.
Speaking of the offensive side of the ball, let's get to the Mariners. Are the Mariners getting the most bang for their buck with the players they do add? That's next.
Seattle Sports Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
I think you play as long as you still love it. You of anybody would be on board with that. You've talked about it a million times. It's no good on the outside, and you were trying to make a comeback at 40. And except for this show, I wouldn't leave, seeing Matt and Mike every day. I mean, it's really what brings joy to you every day, those two.
Even if a team came calling right now, theoretically, said, Wyman, we want you.
You're trying to kill me, right? Yeah, you got one play in me, and I'm going on IR for the rest of the season.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
For many of us, it's happening. Your hair is thinning. Your crown is disappearing. Hair loss had me feeling like I was losing my identity altogether. Well, I've got some good news. It's a simple one-day treatment that worked for me. The Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. It starts growing new hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly memberships. Those can help retain what you have. But what if you want your own natural hair in specific areas like I did? You decide how much, how thick, and where. From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to the world-class leading doctors like Dr. Perungo, it's not a maybe your hair will grow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts, call 425-449-8185. Advanced Hair is the winner of the 425 Business of the Year, and they are the team that I personally recommend. That's 425-449-8185 or advancedhair.com.
Bombas makes the most comfortable socks, underwear, and T-shirts.
Warning, Bombas are so absurdly comfortable you may throw out all your other clothes.
Sorry, do we legally have to say that?
No, this is just how I talk, and I really love my Bombas.
They do feel that good. And they do good, too. One item purchased equals one item donated.
To feel good and do good, go to bombas.com/radio and use code radio for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/radio and use code radio at checkout.
Something amazing is happening. Technology is working harder, faster, and more reliably. It's delivering results that work. But who makes technology work? CDW. We're a full-service technology solutions provider, advising our clients and designing customized solutions so they can reach their goals and do amazing things. CDW. Make amazing happen. Find out more at CDW.com.
Headed to the Sounder game this Saturday? Get down early and check out the Seattle RV Show. Sounders fans will be able to attend the show for just $5 before and after the match when they present their soccer ticket. More info at seattlervshow.com.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Nia.
Hi, Nia. It's Jennifer. Did you know that Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, I work here.
Okay. I was just double checking. Get it?
Because Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, you get me, Nia.
You could say that I double get you.
I guess we've taken it too far.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive so you can stop worrying about them and invent new things to worry about, like snakes in your bedroom. Sure, that sounds incredibly irrational, but now that we've mentioned it, you are a little worried. The odds of one snake, let alone snakes plural, are so slim. But you might want to check. Oh, you're not near your bedroom. Guess you'll just have to sit there and worry about it. So let Progressive protect your home and auto, because you've got enough to worry about. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call, and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. Call 800-948-7878. That's 800-948-7878. 800-948-7878.
We've all been there, sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
Over the past decade, Washington state politicians have doubled state spending with no improvements to the issues we care about. Instead, we now have the third highest cost of living in the nation and a $12 billion deficit. It's time to tell legislators we need better results, not bigger taxes. Act now at affordablewashington.org. Paid for by people for an affordable Washington and Olympia, Washington. Top 5 donors are Washington Alliance for Competitive Economy, Microsoft, Madrona, T-Mobile, and Alaska Air.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
3 quick updates for you. We'll start with the Browns, who've restructured Deshaun Watson's contract once again per Adam Schefter, clearing nearly $36 million in salary cap space. Prior to this move, they were $22 million over the cap. The Kraken are holding fan favorite Brandon Tanev out of the lineup tonight as a precaution. He's been involved in numerous trade rumors ahead of Friday's deadline. And finally, the Seahawks have a signing, though maybe not the one you expect. They've re-signed cornerback Josh Jobe.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Rogers in for Michael Bumpus and Curtis in our show email, which is just like a prep email we send to each other before the following day's show. Just like, here's what's interesting me. You were like, look, we have heard so much fair conversation about the Mariners limiting their spending power, maybe being unwilling to get a big bat, and how disappointed people are as a result of that. We talked about the Justin Turner quotes the other day, and every single person on the text line has, been texting in during those segments, like lamenting a lack of spending. So I don't want to necessarily rehash the same topic. So you said, look, if you're going to be a team that doesn't spend a ton, then you got to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck.
Right.
Have the Mariners done that?
I don't think they have, and I think there are very recent examples of this showing us that the Mariners have not gotten the most bang for their buck on the guys they do choose to pay. And we saw at the end of the 2021 season, they won 90 games. They surprised a lot of us, and then they made somewhat of a push and signed Robbie Ray to that big contract that they ended up trading to San Francisco, retaining Mitch Haniger and some other pieces in that. But it was Haniger's deal that kind of matched the most up with Robbie Ray's salary. The thing is that Robbie Ray, say what you want about that 2022 season where he put up some good numbers, but then ultimately made the
worst lasting impression on the planet.
Maybe the worst pitch in Mariners history, if we're being honest about it, which is what a lot of people just kind of remember the Robbie Ray era for. And then the following season, his first start, blows out his elbow, misses the rest of that 23 season, and then before 24 gets dealt to San Francisco. So I like the idea of going out and acquiring a Cy Young Award winner. I think the Mariners should, maybe consider that, acquiring, proven veteran talent like that, coming off of, their best season in the bigs. But where they find themselves now, that money has turned into what Mitch Haniger is right now, and that just isn't, at this point, it's not a major league player. It's not somebody that you can count on every single day. It's a fourth outfielder, DH type, which those guys should not be costing you $16 million as a guy who's just going to be kind of your bench bat, probably get 250, maybe 300 plate appearances during a season. And then also they sent part of that trade to Minnesota and acquired Jorge Polanco, who had a bad year last year, hampered by injury. You paid him $12 million last year. You're paying him $7 million now with the chance to make up to about that $12 million figure that he made a year ago. But again, you're just not getting a lot of bang for your buck. We've seen it also, too. Tommy La Stella, A.J. Pollock, Colton.
Did we mention Garver?
Mitch Garver, 2-year deal, $24 million. Didn't really get anything like that in return. And then also, we mentioned Robbie Ray trading him to San Francisco. You also had to attach Jared Kelenic in a trade to dump Marco Gonzalez's salary. So, like, where you're choosing to spend all this money, that too has not worked. And when you have as limited of budget as the Mariners have been working with for the last, since they decided to tear it down after 2018, you cannot just throw money around on guys who you're essentially taking a flyer on. A lot of these guys, actually all of these guys, except for maybe Robbie Ray, were considered like reclamation guys or guys that you're like, all right, if he can, if he can show us something to his, 2022 self or his 2021 self, maybe you're going to get something in return. Another example of them moving salary was the trade of Gino Suarez, which now would be kind of a bargain salary on your roster considering the production he's given Arizona since that trade. So I'm looking at what the Mariners are doing in terms of what they're spending on, and it just is not where it should be if you're going to be a team that wants to maybe kind of model what like the Brewers are doing, what the A's have done, what the Rays have done. And it's not, from a fan standpoint, it's not fun to see your favorite team not spend in free agency. But if that's the route you're going to take, you've got to be way better at being able to spot talent and way better at, paying the right guys rather than just kind of throwing 10 million here, 12 million here, 15 million there, and it blowing up in your face the way it has.
Something that I can't for the life of me understand is this. I'll actually start by saying I think the best way to get to a World Series or at least increase your odds is to have the best talent, and I think talent via free agency or retaining those talented players costs a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So we can look all we want at the Rays and them having good examples of this, but they're also chasing a World Series win. Like, they're also looking for that. So limiting your spending does limit your ceiling and kind of limit your opportunities to get there. That said, we know that there are teams who can get the most bang for their buck. In fact, we know the Mariners have at times done this. I think Victor Robles was getting a lot of bang for your buck. And right now, your young pitchers, I'd argue, getting a lot of bang for your buck. Granted, those weren't free agents they've signed, but still, you have to add it to the list of, like, you are getting a greater return than you did spend or are spending now. But when you look at trading Robbie Ray for Mitch Haniger, bringing on his $16 million salary, trading for Jorge Polanco, trading for Luke Raley, signing Mitch Garver. When you look at the things, Luis Urias, like whoever else, is there a mistake that they're making? Like, what's the mistake the Mariners have made? How do they get better at this is what I'm saying.
I don't know if it's necessarily a mistake, but it's just kind of the market in which they have dabbled in just is not a market that has a lot of upside. It's guys like you mentioned, Luis Urias, who had a 20 home run season at some point in his career, but that was years ago.
So it's like a bin of bruised apples with like 2 good apples and saying, find the good ones. How do you find them?
Exactly. They're in there, luck. I guess, yeah. And they found one in Victor Robles. Yeah. They were able to sort their way through all that, but it's just you've got to change what you're looking for in the offseason, whether that be via free agency, but also one thing that they have not done in terms of one of their core philosophies, draft, develop, trade. They have not made a trade to acquire high-end talent in a long time. It was probably the Luis Castillo trade, and then prior to that, it was the trade for Jesse Winker.
Where would you clarify Randy Arozarena?
Okay, that one was a trade for talent. Okay, that, yes, I would put that in that bin as well. But I think you need to do more of those trades where you're giving up prospects, you're giving up something, because that to me is a guy, all those guys, even when Winker, he had a horrible season that season. But before that trade was an all-star, and before that trade was considered the best left fielder in the National League. You make a trade for somebody like that with that pedigree, that is something that will get people's attention. You make a trade for Luis Castillo. You sign him to an extension, a very team-friendly extension. Even at that time, it was team-friendly, and it's become even more team-friendly since then. and then you go and trade for Randy Arozarena. But that's 3 trades.
Why do you think they don't? Not to interrupt, but I want to know what you think.
I think a lot of times just simply contracts are what scare the Mariners off in terms of adding that kind of talent.
So absorbing the contracts those players bring with them?
Yes, because when you're trading prospects for guys that are proven, you're trading guys who have 6 years of club control at a bargain price for a guy that might have 1 or 2 years left at, 18, 19, 20 something $1 million. Like, that's a significant jump in any sort of payroll, no matter the team. And the Mariners, as we know, have just set this limit of, like, we're not going to go past this no matter the player, no matter who is available in free agency, no matter what. Whether you like it or not, we have set this limit for ourselves, and we will not exceed that. And I think that has come at the cost of a lot of talented guys that could have turned this thing into not just a perennial playoff contender, but a World Series contender.
Tell me if you think this year is a slightly different approach for them for this reason. Some of these guys that they brought in that we said, God, you did not get the most bang for your buck last year, are being given second shots. Sometimes by virtue of not opting out of a contract, Mitch Haniger. Other times by virtue of being re-signed because other things didn't work out, like Jorge Polanco. But that, to me, feels like a slightly new trend for the Mariners, who kind of do this, like, 1 year short-term kind of fix-it-patch-it option. That guy inevitably doesn't work. Or maybe you just don't think, you have Teoscar, who worked, but you didn't want to, bring him back for that money, and then he does have a better year, at least more home runs with the Dodgers. But is this a slightly different approach, being like, well, let's see if we can get more bang for our buck this time around?
I think so. I think being able to, not being able to bring these guys back, because you don't really have a choice in the Garver or Haniger situations, because it was a player option for Mitch Haniger, and Garver was already signed through 2025. Polanco, you absolutely had a choice on. You declined his option at the end of the season, and then just based off of how the offseason played out, then decided, all right, well, we'll bring you back at a lower number that could potentially reach that number it was a year ago. I do think, though, it does signify a different approach, because I don't know if they would have given these guys second chances, but also they kind of boxed themselves in this offseason where I don't think they were left with another choice but to give these guys a second chance. Now, they will be good test cases, especially in Garver and Polanco's cases, because the transition to Seattle, as we know, is a bumpy one for a lot of guys that have spent their careers in much more favorable hitting environments. Polanco, who spent most of his career, all of his career in Minnesota, and then Garver, who spent time in Minnesota and also in Texas. Coming here, I mean, that is a drastic change for a lot of dudes, but especially guys who are in their 30s who have played, about a decade in the big leagues. I think this season we're going to see if 2024 was a fluke for those guys, or if that's just kind of who those players are now. And that is a huge risk to take if you're the Mariners, especially with how much is at stake this season, especially with how much is at stake over the course of the next couple seasons, when you have this core group of guys up for contract extensions. And if you aren't able to capitalize on that, that is going to be a massive missed opportunity for everybody in that dugout, everybody who watches these games. Like, that is going to be just one of the biggest what ifs. Is what if you had been a little more comfortable in spending? You could have extended this window. You could have extended these guys who were instrumental in the most competitive era of Mariners baseball outside of the late 90s. Like, as frustrating as these last 5 years have been, this is still probably the second best era of Mariners baseball any of us have ever witnessed.
Says a lot about Mariners baseball, but also something to keep in mind when you're talking about the window you're in.
Exactly. That's the importance of this. That's why people have been just clamoring for just a little bit of help to get this team over the top, because so many of us are starved for a World Series. So many of us couldn't even dream about a World Series team here in Seattle, because that's how far-fetched it was for a lot of those years in the 70s and 80s. And then in the 90s, it was a reality. Like, this is a World Series contender. But then after the late 90s, early 2000s went away, you fell back into those same pitfalls where it's like, I don't think the Mariners are ever going to get to a World Series in my lifetime. And now here you are. You have one playoff berth under your belt. You've gotten ridiculously close a lot of times. Like, there has to be some kind of urgency. And, I mean, you read Jerry DiPoto's comments in The Athletic today, it just doesn't feel like that urgency is there with him and with other people. And it's like, no, like, there is nothing more that this fan base wants than a World Series berth.
Well, and I think, Jerry mentioned in that column people misunderstanding his 54% thing. I don't know how many people fundamentally misunderstood it. I'm sure some did.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the problem that a lot of baseball fans have is sustained success combined with getting to or winning a World Series or getting to an AL or NLCS kind of only works for certain teams. Like, the Dodgers window could be open for as long as they want.
Mm-hmm.
The Yankees window is kind of always open. I know that they have down years or whatever, but they haven't had a losing season since
92.
92. When you were born?
I was 1.
Okay. Point taken.
Still in diapers.
Those are the teams where I'm like, yeah, sustained success. Keep being aggressive because your window's always open. I look at the Mariners as a team where it's like, when your window opens, almost by chance, in this case, the chance, like the wind blowing the window open, was you happen, to draft, develop, or trade for a group that now makes for maybe the best 5-man rotation in all of baseball. That's your window. It's open right now. You can't prop it open. You don't spend enough to prop it open.
No.
You got to jump through it. And so I look at it like a Kansas City thing, a couple other teams where you go, you kind of have to be reckless in this moment and pay for it later. And maybe that's unfair, but you can't spend so little because sustained success is just always going to look like exactly what it's been.
Yeah.
90 is a ceiling, maybe 91. Maybe you get to a wild card. But that's what sustained success truly looks like when you're limiting yourself. And, you're never going to be able to spend what the Yankees are. But maybe you make one or two more aggressive moves that you think, God, I'd never make this in any other. I wouldn't even make this move in 3 years, but I'm just going to do it this year because this might be your shot.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good example in Kansas City, the Royals, who won 50-something games in 2023, signed a few free agents, Seth Lugo kind of being the big one. And what do you know? They're in the playoffs after just one season of horrible play. Now, the American League Central is still not a great division, but you have a super-duper star in Bobby Witt Jr., who plays the role of Julio in this instance. You've got a lot of good veteran talent, too. Salvador Perez is still there. That rotation is really good. Like, it can be done. The Mariners can, dabble in free agency and find guys the way the Royals have. And it's not like the Royals are running a payroll anywhere higher than the Mariners. I mean, they're kind of around the same number that Seattle is and has always been. Like, there are plenty of examples in baseball of teams that aren't doing what the Yankees and Dodgers are doing and still winning at a higher degree than the Mariners are.
If they aren't going to spend more and they're not going to continue to add, then what puts them over the top with what they have?
Well, what puts them over the top is guys just continuing to develop, and then also finding better players in free agency. And not just like better players that are making $25 million plus, but just even the guys who are making the Donovan Solano type contracts, like having guys outperform those contracts as well. Like, Donovan Solano can be useful, but I don't know if he's going to be somebody you want to see in the lineup every single day. Like, he's going to be a valuable pinch hitter. He's going to be a guy that at the bottom of the order is going to be pretty handy to have to, get on base so that the top of the order will have somebody to drive in. But again, like, there's just something that needs to be done about the kind of player that the Mariners are looking at in free agency and looking at in these kinds of trades in the offseason that just has not been there for quite a while now.
Do you want to stay with this topic for just a couple more minutes? We're getting some listener questions in. Someone said, it's a question you've probably seen a million times. How did Oakland do it through the Moneyball years? Is there a way to Moneyball your way to a World Series?
Well, the A's had a tremendous player development system. They had guys like Miguel Tejada, Jason Giambi, Mark Mulder, Barry Zito, Tim Hudson, Rich Harden. All those guys were drafted or signed in international free agency, and out of that group, you had 2 MVPs, Jason Giambi and Miguel Tejada. You had a Cy Young winner in Barry Zito. I believe Tim Hudson and Mark Mulder became 20-game winners as well. So, like, they just hit on so many ridiculously talented guys. And then when those guys gave them their 6 years of service time, they were able to trade a lot of them. I know they traded Tim Hudson to Atlanta, Mark Mulder to St. Louis. I think Tejada and Giambi left in free agency. Same with Barry Zito, but through trading those guys away, they were able to get the next wave of guys, but never was able to get the same kind of talent in trading them away. And that's kind of a cautionary tale. Is that, like, let's say it gets to a point where you don't think you can re-sign Cal, you don't think you can re-sign George Kirby or Logan Gilbert or what have you. Let's say you do trade him. The chances of any of those guys developing into the same kind of player that these guys are, very slim. Very slim.
Tangential anecdote I'm going to use. If a witch told me, I can tell you when you're going to die, will you want to know? I would say no. And right. I say that, and I think most people would say no, because you kind of don't want to live every day seeing doom. You want to feel hope. You want to think anything's possible. I'm going to apply that very dark anecdote to the Mariners season. One thing I've hated about this offseason is not just the frustration of them not adding, but the frustration of knowing them not adding will probably mean them not in the playoffs. And I know that I'm going to watch every single game.
Yes.
And I'm going to fill out my scorebook, and we're going to come in the next day and talk about it. And I'm going to spend 20 hours a week talking about this team. Yeah. And I already know that I'm not going to feel happy. This is why I felt sad this. I'm not going to feel happy doing all that, feeling like it's pointless. So this is my question for you.
Right.
I don't think they're going to add. If Julio plays like an MVP, is this a potential World Series team? Is this a playoff team?
They're a playoff team, yes, if he plays like an MVP. World Series team, not quite.
What'll it take?
It's going to take more contribution on offense from more guys. It can't just be Julio and Cal trying to solo home run their way to a victory,
World
because
Series?
That's what it's been
We will beat you
offensively.
7-4.
Exactly. It's going to take another great season from Victor Robles. It's going to take a bounce back from Randy Arozarena, who looked decent in a Mariners uniform, but not what Randy Arozarena has been during his time with the Rays. Those 4 and JP, I think if you can get those 5 guys having above average seasons, so basically like what Cal and Julio have been doing and what JP did in 2023, then I think you can start talking about this team in a way that is more so than just like sneaking into the playoffs.
What if you could ask Jerry Dipoto, hey, if you did this one thing, I'd feel so much more confident about this team? What would it be?
I think Jerry Dipoto, I would feel much more confident about this team if there was a...
I think you should say if you.
If
Maybe
you,
to him directly.
If you, Jerry Dipoto,
just kidding. Let me tell you,
had gone out and I think acquired just another infielder, whether it be at first base, second base, or third, they are severely lacking in depth in the infield. And I think that's my biggest concern heading into the season is how are you going to get 600 at-bats out of Dylan Moore, Ryan Bliss, Jorge Polanco, Donovan Solano? Like, one of those guys is going to have to play a lot more than they are used to at the big league level.
And have it pay off and not have injuries along with that and not have any, well, I feel more angry and weirdly more optimistic about it. So kind of both. Next up, a reporter appeared on the Pat McAfee show and talked about one potential team very interested in Aaron Rodgers. That's next.
Brock and Salk.
Every morning from 6 to 10.
One of the great things about working with Brock over the years has been his ability to help us get essentially every major top-tier play-by-play and color analyst for the NFL, right? We've talked to Jim Nantz, we've talked to Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Troy Aikman, Joe Buck.
No wonder my back is so jacked up.
Makes sense, all the work that you've
carrying you for 15 years.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Hear the show anytime on demand by subscribing to the Brock and Salk podcast.
Meanwhile, at Xfinity.
So, influencer life going well?
Oh, yeah. I'm up to 32 followers.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah, posting my tap dancing videos is easier than ever because we engineered Xfinity Internet with 99.99% network reliability.
Plus, Xfinity Mobile with Wi-Fi Power Boost gives you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. But wait, tap dancing? You don't tap dance.
Hey, what I lack in skill, I make up with passion.
Do more of what you love and love how fast you do it with Xfinity Internet and mobile. Through April 21st, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and one unlimited mobile line together for $25 a month for 1 year and save over $1,000 in your first year versus other major carriers. Plus, ask how to get iPhone 16e on us. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment tax and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus one unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus one unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required. Actual savings vary.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now, all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades. Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Getting engaged? At Shane Company, dream engagement rings are our specialty. We have the most beautiful natural and lab-grown diamonds, hand-picked in every price range, ready to compare side by side. Shop online at shaneco.com or in store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
You're losing your hair and you want a simple solution that works, and you want the best. Modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need world-class Dr. Perungo and his team at Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration, from the experience itself to the unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair. Get your hair back with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment that begins regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, including mine. And get this, they were recently crowned 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, call 425-449-8185. 425-449-8185. If you qualify, get $250 off and $250 free hair grafts. 425-449-8185. Refine your hairline with a team that's redefined hair restoration. AdvancedHair.com.
4 down territory, going inside the game with Michael Bumpus.
I like this. More quarterbacks should start doing this.
Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy.
Washington State ranks number 5 in the country for auto theft. The most high-risk vehicles are Kia, Hyundai, Ford F-150, F-250, and F-350. Help keep your car safe with these simple and important tips. Don't leave your car running unattended. Park in well-lit areas. Lock up every time. Keep valuables out of sight. Use an anti-theft device like a steering wheel lock. Share this information with friends and family. Prevent the theft and keep you and your vehicle safe. These tips brought to you by the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Authority.
Hey, Brock Hewitt here for my friends at PCF Group, or People Come First Construction Group, and that's exactly what they did when we made the call a couple years ago. We wanted to redo our outdoor space, wanted to add a deck, and outdoor living, and television, and a kitchen. And PCF Group, wow, they more than delivered. And if you're interested in building a stunning outdoor area like we did, I cannot recommend them enough. Reach out before the good weather arrives, and their schedule, well, it's going to fill up. So whether you're looking for a complete outdoor living space or a very specific project like an underdeck ceiling, deck, patio cover, railings, PCF has you covered. Design now and pay later. In fact, get 12 months, no interest and no payments, and up to $6,000 off and a $1,000 Amazon gift card. Request a complimentary design and estimate consultation at 425-629-8476 or project ideas. Explore photos at pcfgroup.com. That's 425-629-8476.
March is here, and Toyota of Renton and Toyota of Kirkland have teamed up to take away your car buying madness. At Toyota of Kirkland and Toyota of Renton, they have the widest selection of new and certified used inventory and the largest savings in the region. Now that's a slam dunk. The all-star staff at Toyota of Renton and Kirkland will assist you with a test drive, and you can score that car the very same day. Come see for yourself or visit online at toyotaofrenton.com or toyotaofkirkland.com.
O'Brien. You're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right, this story, taking a look around the NFL. This story broke a couple minutes ago from Adam Schefter. It's not about the Seahawks, but we'll start with the Bengals. They're giving Trey Hendrickson permission
from the Quantum Fiber Studio.
To seek a trade.
Is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2
on Seattle
Get
Sports
that NFL music going.
97.3 FM HD2.
There we go. Now we're cooking. The Bengals are giving Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. He had 17.5 sacks last season with Cincinnati. His second consecutive season of 17.5 sacks. The next closest on the Bengals roster last year. Curtis, want to guess how many sacks they had?
9.
Wrong, 5.
Ooh.
Joseph Asai with 5. C.J. Hill and
Yikes.
Chris Jenkins with 3.
He is the Bengals defense.
Yes.
They have nothing else on that side of the ball, and now you're going to let this guy walk? It's ridiculous how that front office earlier, I think what was near the end of the regular season or maybe early in the offseason was like, yeah, we're going to make it a point to re-sign Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Trey Hendrickson. Well, they franchised T. Higgins again. There has been no movement on the Jamar Chase front, and Trey Hendrickson's like, I don't want to be here anymore. Joe Burrow's got to be like, what the heck is going on? Like, I was told this was going down, and now it's not. Like, I feel for Bengals fans a little bit because, I mean, boy, that ownership group has never done anything to, keep a good thing going. And this is by far the best, most talented teams the Bengals have ever had. Like, more so than the Chad Ochocinco years. You're literally the only AFC team to represent them to represent that conference in the Super Bowl in basically the Patrick Mahomes era. Like, that's how good you could have it right now, and you're just like, you can find talent
If they would have had a better defense, if they would have a better, defensive back group. They did have Jermaine Pratt, who was a Pro Bowler as well, one of 2 Pro Bowlers on the defense. But someone else alongside Trey getting even 10 sacks, I know that's still a lot. That would lead a couple teams, but getting 10 sacks, you'd be in the playoffs. And you probably would make a deep trip into the playoffs if your defense was better because Joe Burrow was having an MVP-like season. Jamar Chase led all receivers in targets and yards. And what's weird about their hesitancy to extend either of these guys is while I know the money is massive, they're very clear stars. The Rams didn't hesitate to make Aaron Donald or whoever else the highest paid fill in the blank. Like, other teams don't hesitate when they're like, look, we're not going to find this guy in the draft again. And he's certainly not going to be at this level when we find him. We can find, maybe we go look for another linebacker. Maybe we go cheap in the defensive back room. But when you have someone who's a clear star, that decision should be easy. Jamar Chase is a star. Trey Hendrickson has more sacks than any other player over the last 2 seasons. This should be an easy decision.
God, his sack totals 13.5, 14, 8, 17.5, 17.5. He's been a 4-time Pro Bowler in a Bengals uniform. when you look at like guys who could fetch a first-round pick in return, obviously Myles Garrett is the most sought-after pass rusher this offseason, but Trey Hendrickson's probably number 2. Like, these two guys are going to fetch a lot in return, so I guess that's a good thing going for Cincinnati, but whoever it is that you get back for Trey Hendrickson, probably not going to be anywhere near as talented as him.
Well, and that's where the hubris comes in of teams thinking,
oh, we can just recreate this guy.
And again, sometimes you can.
Sure.
Or sometimes you can find a replacement.
Sometimes
and be
you trade
elsewhere.
Stephon Diggs and get Justin Jefferson.
Exactly. Sometimes it works out. You know what I mean? But
that's a rare exception.
A lot of the times it doesn't.
Yeah,
and
sometimes you trade A.J. Brown and get Treylon Burks back.
Right. Oh, Titans. Next up, Giants beat reporter Art Stapleton was on the Pat McAfee show earlier today and said, quote, "My understanding is the Giants are significantly interested in Aaron Rodgers. Curtis, would you be significantly interested in Aaron Rodgers to the Giants?"
I'd be interested in him going to the
That's
Giants.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Why not? Sign me up for the circus.
It's going to be an absolute disaster, and I can't wait for it. I can't wait for every second of it because I can't wait to point and laugh at the Giants who, I mean, if you're taking scraps from the Jets, that's a bad commentary on where you're at as a franchise. Like, if you're like, hey, this guy didn't work for the Jets, let's see if he works for us.
They
probably not going to work.
For Geno Smith, to be fair.
That's true. Yeah, well, yeah, I guess you make a fair point, Stacy.
Though didn't bet on him. They signed him as a backup.
No, right. Like, they took Geno Smith as a second-round pick. Yeah, they signed Geno to be Russ's backup here and then elevated him to the starting role. They didn't plan their entire franchise around him the way that I'm sure the Jets obviously did and the Giants might do here. I love to see New York sports teams just fail over and over again. I love seeing the Jets do it. I love seeing the Giants do it, and I hope it continues.
Does it tell you, if there is, assuming this is a true report, if there is genuine, very sincere interest in Aaron Rodgers signing there, what does it tell you about their draft plans? Does it say, because there's a world where Shedeur Sanders is there at 3. We've heard rumors of him falling in the draft. Abdul Carter is someone who would like normally be number 1 were it not such a, like, Cam Ward is the obvious number 1 for the Titans. Shedeur could be there at 3. Does it mean they're not interested?
I think if you take Aaron Rodgers in free agency, you've got to at least consider a quarterback because you know Aaron Rodgers is going to be a short-term investment. He is not a long-term option at quarterback anymore. You're going to have him for maybe 1 or 2 seasons at most. Probably 1 is my guess. And you would want to have your guy maybe ready to go following Aaron Rodgers' time there. So if I'm New York, I'm still considering quarterback at number 3 if I do draft Aaron Rodgers, which is something that I think the Jets should have done, which I think is something that like the Broncos should have done when they realized that Russell Wilson was not going to be that guy for them. You never want to be caught without a quarterback because then you run the risk of being kind of like the Saints, where Drew Brees in his final seasons, they just never addressed that position and have been bad ever since then. So, whereas like the Packers and the Chiefs and the Ravens, those teams that have addressed their quarterback spot while having the incumbent there with like Alex Smith, Joe Flacco, and Aaron Rodgers, with Green Bay drafting Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Jordan Love, those teams haven't missed a beat at all in the years ever since moving on from their starting quarterbacks.
Next story here, Curtis. The Seahawks are bringing back one of last season's best stories, cornerback Josh Jobe. Maybe not the signing a lot of fans were hoping for, but still good news for Josh in Seattle.
Yeah, he really just kind of took that spot and ran with it. Trey Brown, he was leapfrogged on the depth chart there by Josh Jobe. I like this signing. He was just a practice squad guy, and then they elevated him. Was it his first game he got an interception?
The Ryan Neal treatment, where it's like that guy comes in to like back up, and it's like, whoa, oh my God, was he intercepted Josh Allen? Was that his first game though?
I think so.
I know it was a Josh
Buffalo.
On Josh interception. I know it was Josh Jobe.
Josh on Josh violence. You hate to see it.
I think Josh. I know he had Allen's first interception. I cannot remember if that was his first start.
It would have been. He played in the Atlanta game the week prior.
Okay.
But then
his second start.
Yeah, his second start. got the interception against Josh Allen. We're not going to talk about what happened in the rest of that game. Because,
we don't need to.
Yeah.
The game ended there.
Exactly. It ended with Josh Jobs' interception.
It was the shortest NFL game in history and a Seahawks victory. Next up, another 49er is getting released. The team announced they're moving on from veteran defensive tackle Javon Hargrave. I remember when the 49ers added Hargrave, and I thought, God, someone stop them.
How can one team be this talented?
And it never quite worked out. I mean, I think, initially really solid. It wasn't a matter of talent. Maybe one eventually of fit, and then a team that dealt with injuries, including for him, I think a torn tricep, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, he just never got healthy, and that 49ers defensive line went from, they had so many guys. They had Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Nick Bosa, to now it's just Nick Bosa. Like, Javon Hargrave was there. It is night and day different right now than what it was 4 or 5 years ago.
Related to Nick Bosa. As you know, his brother Joey was released by the Chargers, 5-time Pro Bowler, hasn't been able to stay on the field, 18 starts over the last 3 years. Over the last 3 years. If you were the 49ers, would you couple up the Bosa brothers?
I think so. I would try to do that if I was John Lynch.
I mean, he's a free agent. You don't have to give up
Yeah,
anything.
You're not going to lose anything. Whenever I think of the Bosa brothers, I think of, was it Nick who went? No, or was it Joey who went to go watch a game that Nick was in?
And then he was getting harassed.
Hey, Bosa! It was somebody with like the thickest accent ever. Hey, Bosa!
And you just yell, hey, Bosa.
Yeah.
NFL.com's Eric Edholm joining us at 1. Don't go anywhere.
The John Schneider Show.
With Wyman and Bob.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
You're down at the Combine. What's the biggest priority that you want to know about these players?
Yeah, I would say having our coaches here this year, interviewing the players in person and watching them interact, how they respond to the teaching, and can they teach the coaches. That's probably the most important thing this year. We didn't bring the guys last year because everybody was just installing our systems and getting going. So it's pretty cool having those guys here this year.
Hear the rest of this interview on demand at seattlesports.com and on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
Imagine finding your dream home and moving in right away. No waiting to sell your old place first. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program lets you do. Buy your new home now and sell the old one later. Here's how it works. Orchard gives you cash so you can buy and move into your new home first on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then the Orchard experts take it from there. They handle repairs on your old home and make price-boosting upgrades with no cost until close. Once they're done, a local Orchard agent lists and sells your home for top dollar. Orchard's Move First program gives you the freedom to buy and move into your new home first and sell your old home later. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Ready to find out how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's Orchard.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Seattle, it's almost showtime at T-Mobile Park. Be here when the action gets started March 27th with Mariners opening day, featuring a ceremonial first pitch from Hall of Famer Ichiro. The fun continues with Randy Arozarena crossed-armed hoodie night March 28th and Hello Kitty bucket hat night March 29th. Then don't miss the 3-day Julio Bat Flip Bobble giveaway March 31st to April 2nd with tickets starting at $10. So get ready, get set, Mariners baseball is finally on deck. Grab your tickets at mariners.com.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
Seattle Sports is in Arizona for spring training baseball. Go behind the scenes with Wyman and Bob all this week from 2 to 7.
On Seattle Sports.
Luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, where comfort meets elegance. It's Mike Salk here, and this summer you can experience breathtaking Cascade views, world-class dining, and of course the best entertainment. Elevate your next getaway by combining effortless style with the utmost in relaxation. The hotel opens this summer with deluxe king and 2 queen rooms, premiums, grand suites, signature suites, and the breathtaking views of the Cascades and the Snoqualmie Valley. For more details, go to snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
This is Matt Coker from West Coast Men's Health. Has Viagra stopped working for you? Do you hate the side effects? If you've taken Viagra for any length of time, you already know that pills are not the solution to ED. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we have a better approach to ED. Acoustic wave therapy creates blood flow circulation by safely removing the plaque in your arteries and restoring function naturally. No pills, no shots, no surgery. We can also treat Peyronie's disease. Our non-invasive treatment for ED is painless and highly effective. We have treated thousands of men just like you. Stop living with this problem and do something about it. Do yourself a favor, do your partner a favor, and call us today.
Call 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com. HSA cards welcome and financing available.
We've all been there. Sleepless nights, mind racing, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bayalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bay Alarm, we got you.
You're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Curtis Rogers in for Michael Bumpus. And Curtis, I'm going to go through a list. This list has been constructed by me. You're welcome.
Oh,
it is.
Wow. I'm excited to see what this list is about.
And I constructed this list because we've
Better
actually
not be
had,
like aiolis or anything like that.
I don't know why. Can I just pause this? Ian. If
Ian
someone,
is in for Matt Nelson today, who's over at Comic-Con.
If someone was like, hey, do you want aioli with your french fries? You would say
100%.
Exactly like what? Yeah, of course.
Okay.
What is it, garlic?
Wow.
Is it chipotle? Like, is it like, I don't know, like grilled red pepper, whatever it is? What's wrong with aioli?
So you know what I've done in my adult life that I would have never thought I would have done when I was a youngster?
Pay taxes?
Yes. But also, I'm not a sauce guy when it comes to fries anymore, other than Red Robin campfire sauce.
Wait, you just eat fries?
Yeah, just eat fries naked. Yeah. Without sauce.
No ketchup?
No ketchup. Nothing. Just dry fries. Yeah.
No, it deserved the silence afterwards. That was intentional.
I'm here by myself today. Bump's out. Matt's out. I know they would have had my back.
You're here by yourself on this right now. I don't know a single person who eats french fries like that. I mean, I know a lot of people who like aioli.
A lot of people do.
I just think the audacity of, I didn't know that about you.
A great fry does not need sauce.
But the audacity of making fun of me for liking aioli when you're going completely sauceless. You don't even have another sauce where you're like, this is clearly the superior sauce.
Just in my day-to-day, but also with fries.
As someone who eats fries.
As an almost 34-year-old, I'm very sauceless.
I'm moving on. It's been a really busy week in the NFL. We have a number of either new free agents, recently released veterans, or a couple new players who have requested trades. DK Metcalf not included in this list, though, is one of them. So now with this new batch of free agents and trade targets following this week, I'm going to read them. Let me know if any feels like a fit for the Seahawks. I'll start with the one we just talked about. It'll cost you a pretty penny, but Trey Hendrickson, 17.5 sacks in each of the last 2 seasons, has requested a trade.
I would love to have him in Seattle. Are you kidding me? Yeah, absolutely. But like you said, it's going to cost you at least a first-round pick. So you'd have to say goodbye to pick number 18, which with where the Seahawks are as a franchise, I don't think you can part with a first-round pick at this point, especially for Trey Hendrickson, who's 30 years old. I think there's another guy on this list here that I would part with number 18 for, but we're going to get to that in a little bit. But, yeah, Trey Hendrickson, really, really good. He's an all-pro. He's a multiple-time Pro Bowler. Yes, that is somebody who I would want on the Seahawks.
Next up, Davante Adams was released by the Jets. Again, this news a couple days old. He now becomes, I would say, one of the top 2 wide receiver targets. The other one is going to be on here. We'll get to him in a second. A week ago, I would have said, no, why do I want to sign Davante Adams? Lots of respect for Davante, but he's not needed here. No Tyler Lockett and no DK later. I'm now wondering if he should be a target, Curtis. He's going to be heavily pursued. It's not going to be cheap.
I think if you can get him, then yeah. I think without DK here and without Tyler, you're going to need a proven option in your wide receiver room. And if they can somehow get Davante Adams in Seattle, then yes, I would like to see that happen. But I don't think it will. I think Davante Adams is in ring-chasing territory. And here in Seattle, where they're going to be kind of in transition on offense, where you're learning a new offense, you don't have Tyler, you don't have DK here, or you don't likely have DK here. I don't know if it's going to be as appealing to him, but yeah, if the Seahawks can find a proven veteran like him to fill that wide receiver room in the potential absence of DK Metcalf, then by all means, go for it.
All right, you got Joey Bosa released by the Chargers. That news breaking yesterday. Obviously, previously one of the most dominant defensive players in the league. Wanted to retire as a Charger. Has done a lot for the Chargers. I think he's second all-time for them in sacks, but has not been able to stay healthy. And I think if he were still really healthy and contributing, he'd clearly be there. But he's got 18 starts over the last 3 seasons. He is a free agent, though. You don't have to give anything up to sign him.
You mentioned the injury history. I don't think Joey Bosa is going to be who the Seahawks go after this offseason. I will pass on him. Even though it wouldn't cost you anything, maybe you run the risk of not getting a compensatory pick in 2026 by signing any of these guys. But, I would pass on Joey Bosa. By the way, text line very divided.
Okay.
There are some very staunch backers of your boy, but then there are also people who are calling me a psychopath, and I don't think that's fair.
One person called you a psychopath, and I do think it's fair. And I almost said, hey, a lot of people are actually supporting you, but I'm ignoring those texts, and I'm going to read the one text that says you're a psychopath. Just one person.
From the 509.
There was one other person who said they think you might be a serial killer, but that's different.
Yeah. Also, people were kind of making fun of my wording, too, saying I eat fries naked. Yeah, I said what I said.
I think you meant it.
Yeah, I did.
Let's move on. Let me couple these receivers together because we're going to run out of time here.
Okay.
Stephon Diggs has yet to be re-signed by the Texans. That's not news.
Mm-hmm.
We just are now looking at the wide receiver market differently. And T. Higgins was franchise tagged. You will have to give something up to get T. Higgins, but franchise tagging him for a second consecutive year sure feels like a team that doesn't want to commit to him. Would you either trade for Higgins or sign Diggs?
Higgins is in a very similar spot to DK, and it'll be interesting to see which of those two guys gets moved first, because I think whatever price tag one goes for, the other one might try to top it. The other team, I should say, might try to top it. So, like, if T. Higgins gets moved for a second and something else. Maybe the Seahawks still try to go and trade for a first rounder, but like you're just kind of swapping what you have with DK, the similar problem that you have with DK of like, do we sign him to another contract or not? And you're replacing with T. Higgins, who is trying to get his second contract in the NFL. So he's a little bit younger than DK. I don't think it would make sense if you're trying to move away from having to pay a wide receiver top of the market money.
Yeah, I agree. 49ers released Javon Hargrave. I don't think you're interested in him. No. Last one, I'll let you sign off with this one. Not new news, but I'm including him on this list. Myles Garrett still out there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can have pick 18. Get me Myles Garrett in a Seahawks uniform.
Would you
absolutely.
give up 2 first-round picks?
2 firsts? So that'd be next year's and this year.
Hear me out. What if you traded DK Metcalf and you got a 2026 first-round pick, so now you have 2 2026 first-round picks? Would you then trade one of those 2 picks, couple it with 2025, your 18 overall for Myles Garrett?
Yes.
Well, I just made an NFL trade.
Wow. You were a GM. Congratulations.
This isn't so hard.
Yeah. All this hemming and hawing of like, they only will take a third-rounder back. They want a first and a third. We got it done.
Yeah, I would sink and bankrupt a franchise on accident. And I wouldn't even give it a full week before I'd be fired.
We are $100 million over the cap, and we've signed 2 players.
Stacy, this looks like straight money laundering. There's more money being spent than there are players in the building.
Don't talk about it.
NFL.com's Eric Edholm joining us next.
Blue 88 on Brock and Salk.
Brock, what is your bold prediction for the Seahawks this year?
Every day at 7:45.
I was looking at the numbers defensively when it was all said and done. Finished in the top 15 in your major categories. I think year 2 with more time on task. Year 2 with a couple additional pieces. Year 2 with everybody basically coming back defensively and hopefully adding a difference maker third corner. This could be a top 5 defense in the league.
Blue 88, answering 3 football questions as only Brock Heward can.
Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at emeraldqueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
At Sound Pain Solutions, some of the most difficult cases we see are patients suffering from failed back surgery syndrome. Bill is an avid golfer, but his pain got so bad he couldn't play and was considering surgery.
My back was killing me. I could not play any more golf. I could not walk more than half a block. I did not want surgery on my back, and I researched many different ways of getting this fixed. Behind that was horror stories from my friends who had back surgery, but it wasn't worth it, and I just made conclusion to that. There's got to be another way.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. We were able to get Bill back on the course without the risk of surgery. We did this using non-invasive, FDA-cleared procedures like non-surgical decompression, laser, pressure wave, and bioelectrical treatments. Now, Bill is back to playing golf and enjoying life. Schedule a free consultation to learn if you qualify for our non-surgical and drug-free treatment by calling Sound Pain Solutions or visiting soundpainsolutions.com.
Looking for the perfect engagement ring? At Shane Company, we know this is an exciting time. It can also be overwhelming. Customers say this a lot. Where do I start? How do I choose? At Shane Company, this is where the magic happens. Since 1929, we've been experts at helping customers find the perfect engagement ring. We invite you into the design process, help you pick out the perfect diamond or colorful gemstone, and choose a style that speaks to you. Come see us in store and at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Nia.
Hi, Nia. It's Jennifer. Did you know that Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, I work here.
Okay. I was just double checking. Get it?
Because Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, you get me, Nia.
You could say that I double get you.
I guess we've taken it too far.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like fences. A house with a big yard and a white picket fence was always the dream. But then you saw the price to install a fence and you're wondering if the color is driving the price up. Nobody ever dreams of a beige or a gray picket fence, right? So maybe those fences are cheaper. But no, they're not. Then you remember that switching your home and auto to Progressive could save you hundreds and make all your dreams of a fence come true. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
The Lee Johnson culture to me is empowering all of your employees to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. You know, there are certain things that it doesn't matter what level of employment you are in our organization. If it's not the right thing or it doesn't feel right, they have the ability to take care of the customer and make the decision without asking a manager, without asking an owner. The end result is they can speak to the customer with more confidence. They're definitely more confident in what they're trying to provide the customer, what the customer is trying to accomplish, and just giving them a better experience.
His name is Justin Meek. He's the leader and caretaker of more than 300 full-time employees for the Lee Johnson Auto family. It's the united understanding among Lee Johnson employees that customers are the purpose of our day. The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
The Bengals have granted edge rusher Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade per ESPN's Adam Schefter. That news breaking earlier this hour on a busy day in the NFL. Hendrickson has led the league in sacks over the last 2 seasons combined and was one of 2 Pro Bowlers on Cincinnati's defense.
Snapshot brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This hour is brought to you by Mazda of Everett.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bump and Stacy.
On Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Eric Edholm joining us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Hey, Eric, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, you guys?
Good. I mean, a busy day in the NFL. I thought yesterday was busy, and then we just keep getting news today. I am going to, though, Eric, start with yesterday's news. Obviously, DK Metcalf requesting a trade from the Seahawks. I'm curious, had you been hearing rumors of this happening before, or were you surprised by the news?
Yeah, I guess not totally shocked. I mean, his name has sort of been floated as a possible candidate for either a trade or a trade request. But, yeah, I mean, I didn't know how that would go. And, you know, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, this is a year where receivers are kind of at a premium. We don't have a ton in free agency who are expected to change teams. Now, obviously, guys get released, Tyler Lockett being one, you know, but right now the current pool is a little bit underwhelming. The draft crop is less than normal. I mean, receivers, a position we've sort of become accustomed to being loaded every single year in the draft, but I don't know that that's the case this year. So, yeah, I mean, it really puts Seattle in an interesting position. They certainly could have multiple bidders lined up and, you know, could try to get them to kind of bid against each other and drive up the price. But at the same time, you know, with a year left on his deal and him wanting to get paid, and, you know, it's hard to know if they'll meet the asking price they're shooting for, which is a first round plus.
Yeah, that we talked about the asking price, the reported asking price from Diana Rossini, who had the first and the third today. It feels like, Eric, we haven't really seen many receivers move for that kind of price tag in a long time. I mean, Deebo Samuel just last week moved for a 5th-round pick. I mean, when Stephon Diggs got traded, the highest pick that I think Buffalo got back was a 2nd-round pick. Do you think we see any receiver outside of like maybe a Jamar Chase or somebody like that in the coming years get moved for a 1st-rounder? Because it feels like, with the caveat being you also have to extend DK Metcalf after this trade, that 1st-round price tag might be a little too rich for some teams.
A little ambitious, yeah, I think so as well. I mean, that's sort of my view on it. I mean, obviously the player's talent, their age, I mean, there's a million different factors, but those are big ones. The other big one is the contract, and then the situation of, how many years left and how much you're going to have to pay him. Myles Garrett with 2 years left on his deal, even though he wants an extension, that's a more friendly situation in some respects. But yeah, I mean, I'll be fascinated to see if they honor it, if they want to move him, if this has been something they had been anticipating. But yeah, whenever you see a player get traded, a familiar name especially, and it's the team's getting far less than you'd expect coming back, look to the contract. That often kind of explains why the compensation isn't as great. So yeah, I mean, had T. Higgins been available, maybe it's a different story. But I think you're right. I don't know that Seattle's going to be able to get that. Could they get a high 2nd and maybe something else to pick next year? I think they could. I think that's a reasonable and a fair expectation, I think, but never hurts to ask for the moon, especially if you have, 2, 3, 4 teams trying to get them.
One of the double-edged sword angles of the wide receiver market is that, yeah, Seattle's going to benefit from some really wide receiver needy teams that are willing to give up a little bit more, but then Seattle has to replenish its wide receiver room, and you're looking at a free agency and a draft class where you go, oh God, this is why those other teams were so desperate. I don't think that they're going to sign Devontae Adams or Diggs, but I am curious in how quickly you think those two could go, and if you think that they could get lucrative deals.
Yeah, I've heard West Coast teams are doing some extra work on Devontae. That seems to be, at least geographically speaking, where he wants to end up. Now, I don't know if that means Seattle or one of the LA teams or something like that, but that's been thrown out there. And I just got back from the combine. You hear a lot of things, conversations that happened down in Indy, and that was kind of the buzz there. Diggs is interesting. I mean, it sounds like there's a path for him to return to Houston, but there's also a possibility of him moving on. And, obviously the injury really complicated things on the back half of his career. But still a number one. Texans weren't the same without him on the field last year. That became obvious after a certain point. So, yeah, I mean, impact players at that position are, even though the draft has provided a bounty in recent years, not all of them pan out. Very few are true number ones or 1Bs or whatever you want to classify them as, difference makers, guys who can, sort of contribute in a lot of different ways or excel in one or two ways. So, yeah, there's always a market for them. There just doesn't seem to be the supply that meets the demand this year, both in free agency and the draft, and that's what makes these kinds of situations even more spicy.
Eric, we entered the offseason here in Seattle. Everybody consensus saying offensive line was the biggest need heading into the draft. But with the last 24 hours throwing quite a few wrenches into the Seahawks offseason plans, if you were to control their draft board, where would you look in the first round? Would you still stick with offensive line as the area that the Seahawks need to address, or could there potentially be some wide receivers that could fill the void left by Tyler Lockett and potentially DK Metcalf?
Yeah, there could. I mean, right now, I don't know exactly what order they're going to go off in round one. Let's talk receivers first. There seemed to be a lot of tailwind, I guess, behind Matthew Golden at Texas as a player that maybe heading into the combine, you saw in mock drafts sort of appearing in that late first, early second round range. I think he's going higher than that, talking to a few people down there, and that was before he ran a a 4.29. So, this is somebody who could go off the board prior to Seattle's pick. Tetaroya McMillan from Arizona, really interesting, bigger receiver, would obviously be more of a one-for-one replacement for Metcalf, just hypothetically speaking. Probably off the board then, too, I would imagine. You never know. But they might have to slide up to get either one of those two guys. Then there's, Luther Burden and a few other guys who could be first-round wide receivers, certainly in play. But Burden's more of a slot guy, and I don't know that that's exactly what they're looking for. That's where Jackson seems to be at his best, or at least my impression of it. So if things have changed, obviously Burden could be at play, and he did play outside too. But again, they're more similar than I think you'd want to have two guys sort of as your leading men at that position. The offensive line, that mid-first round area is, I think, a pretty good sweet spot. There could be two offensive linemen, maybe three, who go off the board prior to that. But I still think the longer you wait at that position, the more in trouble you are. Actually, both spots don't really boast exceptional depth, I don't think, but there's probably a better chance to find a second-round receiver than there is to find a true gem on the offensive line in the second round. Now, that's generally speaking. You never really know how some of these, there's always a player or two who could fall, but, whether it's Tyler Booker from Alabama, who, while athletically limited in some ways, is an absolute slobber knocker, and a young guy who, the Alabama coaches raved about, a rare early leader, or early captain, I should say, rather, in that locker room. So, somebody who I think established himself as a tone setter there. And Kelvin Banks from Texas, play tackle, can play inside, some good versatility. I think he's being undersold a little bit. People expected him to be top 5 type of pick after his freshman year. Didn't quite progress at the same level that you'd hope, but still, I think a really talented guy who maybe he's even being slept on a little bit. So those are two just names that come to mind for first-round possibilities. That would make sense, I think, for Seattle. And then you can kind of swing back at receiver and, maybe a Jalen Royals from Utah State or somebody like that. There's some decent options. I think I'd rather take my chances getting the receiver second in this class, strictly from a draft perspective, I would say. But, again, there's surprises every year. And this draft is shaping up to be one where I bet you there'll be some real shockers on Thursday night come first round. I think there'll be names that we weren't expecting coming in round one.
I feel like this is a draft where we could see like a big trade at the top. We could see a player slide. I completely agree with you. I'm not quite sure what to expect after pick number 1, and maybe that's what we could say in several other seasons. Eric, I'm curious your thoughts. Seattle is not going to take Shedeur Sanders, so this is not really a Seahawks question. But I saw Shedeur as he's obviously going to be the second quarterback off the board. Maybe he goes to the Giants. Maybe if the Raiders are lucky, he falls to them. And I did not attend the Combine, and I was so surprised that leaving the Combine, there were so many mixed opinions, with some people saying he could fall into the latter half of the first round. What happened? What were these conversations like? What were people saying?
That he's an awful human being. No, I'm kidding.
There's
nothing like that. Hey, to be totally honest, I went into the Combine thinking there's a chance, because I think at that point we knew he wasn't going to throw. But I remember having a conversation down at the Senior Bowl, then another one in the week prior to the Combine with some people around the league. And these are teams that I wouldn't put at the top of the quarterback needy team list. So they're more apt to kind of give their view of what they've seen and how they kind of see the landscape, because, it doesn't necessarily impact their pick or their path in the draft a little bit. But both teams felt like it wouldn't be a shock if Shedeur even made it to round 2, and this isn't unprecedented. We've had guys who, populated the tops of mock drafts in December, January, even early February, who ended up going in the second round or third round. Malik Willis was one who slipped to the, 70-somethingth pick. Will Levis was, you could find him in the top 10 of some mocks a couple years ago. He ended up going 33rd, right at the top of round 2. So that possibility exists. I even heard some people think that Jackson Dart, even though to be totally frank, I didn't think he blew up at the Senior Bowl or had some amazing combine performance throwing the ball. He was fine, but some people feel like Dart could end up going ahead of Sanders. So it's going to be a team-specific thing. I think I know two teams that really like him, but not like him enough to use a top 10 pick on him. So I think some of this was kind of some projection from media folks, including myself, who had him just a little higher than the league views him. And again, especially with quarterbacks, that happens more than we realize sometimes. So some people did comment, look, you got to know what you're getting. You're not just getting him. You're getting Dion. You're getting the Sanders clan, if you will. And if you're prepared, if you have a strong locker room, if you feel like you have a coaching staff that, believes in its ability and a locker room that's stable and solid, there's nothing to worry about. This is a guy who turned around a Jackson State program, turned around Colorado. Both programs were, heading in the wrong direction, so to speak, prior to his arrival. So he's accurate. He's tough. I don't know that he's a special athlete in any way. It's kind of crazy to think Dion's kid isn't like all that gifted compared to other quarterbacks, but arm talent is just okay. But boy, he's accurate. He puts the ball more often than not where it needs to be. And I think for the right team, maybe they end up getting a steal. I don't know that he'll ever be a top 10 quarterback, but I think he could be a very effective one in the right system.
Eric, we've heard from a number of draft analysts that this is one of the deepest running back classes they've ever seen. Some people saying as many as 30 guys could go off the board over the course of the 3 days. Ashton Genty, obviously the biggest name in that position group, but are there any other names that stood out to you after your week in Indy?
Yeah, I mean, Omarion Hampton from UNC is one of my favorites. I'd say he and Caleb Johnson have been my kind of back and forth between my second favorite back in this class. So I think both guys are going to end up possibly late first-round picks, but more likely top of round 2, somewhere in that region. I think Trey Henderson, Travion, most people know him as, although I think he's now changed to Trey, or at least that's how he was introduced to us at the Combine. Really good player at Ohio State. Some people even think Quinshon Judkins, the former Ole Miss guy who spent a year in Columbus, may end up being better. So, two backs from the same team, both could end up being, early day 2 picks. I would say, I'm trying to think of somebody else. Cam Scattaboo is obviously an interesting name. I don't think he's going to be one of the first 3 or 4 backs taken, but boy, anyone who spent time watching Arizona State last 2 years really, but especially during their late season run, how could you not be inspired by everything the guy did? I mean, it was incredible to see him running, catching, even throwing the ball, a real, almost like a David Montgomery type of back, I would say. So certainly Ben Johnson in Chicago might be interested in his services, but yeah, I'm with you. I think the depth of this class is tremendous. Bashal Tutin from Virginia Tech blew up the Combine, and at this rate, I mean, he's still kind of viewed as like maybe a 3rd-round pick or something like that. So, yeah, you still can – that's what teams considering Genty have to think about is, do we use a top 10 or 15 pick on a player who maybe we can get 85% of that player in rounds 2, 3, or 4? That's the kind of the debate that I think has to – start coming up in these draft rooms as we get closer.
Always interesting to think about it that way. He's NFL.com's Eric Edholm. Eric, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.
Have a great day. All right.
See ya. Let's get to 4 Down territory.
This is 4 Down territory, going inside the game with former Seahawks and Coug wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
Stacy, first down to you. Why would trading DK Metcalf not be the worst idea for a Clint Kubiak offense?
So Yahoo Sports' Nate Tice is kicking this off. He was on with us yesterday. He had a take on DK Metcalf that I hadn't heard before.
The X in a Shanahan-Kubiak offense is maybe more of a varied route tree guy than DK is. And DK is a vertical guy, a slant guy. His kind of what he's good at, I would say it's limited, but he's good at certain things and kind of iffy on some other things.
I thought it was really interesting. Like, it's not necessarily a unique or new opinion to say that DK Metcalf has a limited route tree. It's something he was knocked for coming out of college. And while it's not the highlight of his game, I think he's proven he can be a very effective NFL wide receiver, enough that maybe a team gives up a first-rounder in a trade for him. That being said, is he a good enough route runner, or are the things he struggles with going to be a problem in a Kubiak offense? Was a very interesting angle from Nate Tice that I hadn't typically considered. I, as not a former player, have a very simplified view of it, where it's like, roots in a West Coast offense, if you're, a Kubiak-Shanahan tree, meaning you want like quick little plays to eat up the field, move downfield, and then bam, you're taking a shot. Yeah, you want DK to be able to take a shot. Like, that's exactly the receiver you want. But it was really interesting to hear an analyst say, look, yes, you want like an outside, receiver, a big guy. DK has a rare skill set, but it needs to be a fit, not just the physical abilities to, be able to get downfield. So, I just thought it was a fascinating take on it, and maybe Kubiak's system finds a better fit elsewhere.
Second down. Stacy, we talked about 5 potential DK landing spots earlier in the show. 4 were in the AFC. Is there an NFC team that could be a fit?
Yes. So the other NFC team we mentioned was the Packers, so I'm not going to mention them now. So without the Packers, I'll mention the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are always going to dominate NFL headlines the same way the Yankees are going to dominate MLB headlines. Even if they're doing nothing, ESPN will find a way to talk about them, and apparently so will I. However, the Cowboys are dominating headlines with this specific topic because they have just cleared about $60 million in cap space by restructuring deals for Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. If it were me, I would not spend $30 million on 2 receivers, which they would be doing with CeeDee Lamb and DK, but they do need another receiver badly. They need another key target in addition to Lamb. They're facing pressure to win now. They probably should be aggressive with free agency and trades, and they just cleared that cap space. One thing to consider with this, though, clearing cap space isn't necessarily making space for a DK contract. They got to re-sign their own guys, and maybe that's where their priorities are right now.
Third down. Stacy, do you think Geno Smith or the Seahawks missing the playoffs played a factor in DK's decision to request a trade?
Curtis, you know me, and I know you.
Yes.
And we love a conspiracy theory.
We are built for this.
I love a conspiracy theory.
I know your tinfoil hat size.
Oh, I'm ready to pull the tinfoil hat out at all times. However, I don't think I will here. I know.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the reality TV, Real Housewives viewing fan me, would love to have some celebrity athlete gossip, but I don't think that's what this is. I really do think sometimes it's just the simplest excuse. DK wants to be paid, and the Seahawks might not want to pay him like a top receiver because he doesn't have to be in this offense. Especially with the emergence of JSN last year, DK saw 108 targets. That's like a good portion, but maybe he wants to see 125. maybe he wants to be targeted a little bit more, and that might not happen with the Seahawks recentering their offense around the run game. Someone earlier texted in, well, clearly there are issues in the locker room, if they're willing to move on or if he wants to. And this isn't necessarily about DK. Players don't always absolutely love playing for the team they're with, but you always want to win, and you always want to get paid, and you always want to be in the Hall of Fame. Those 3 things are probably true for every single player, and it might just be, at a crossroads for these two where DK just wants something the Seahawks aren't giving him, which are the lion's share of targets and money, and he needs to find it, I don't know, with the Cowboys.
Fourth down. Could DK be one of those top 5 guys in terms of receiving yards?
I don't think so. And when I'm thinking top 5 guys, I'm thinking primarily top 2 guys, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Obscene yardage totals here. That's not to say he can't potentially get there, and we're getting back to that conversation about target share. Again, another texter said, DK's not putting up that yardage, which is true, fundamentally true, but he's also not had those targets. The most targets he's ever had in a single season is 141 in 2022. His best season in terms of production came off 129 targets. He was 31st in the league last year in targets, but 12th in average yards per catch. So he does make the most of his targets when he gets them. Maybe he sees more in another offense. I still think that DK's average season maybe 900 to 1,200 yards is amazing production. I think that is good enough to be a number one receiver in a lot of offenses around the league. All right, let's get to What's On Tonight.
What's On Tonight with Bump and Stacy, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook at Muckleshoot. Now, here's What's On Tonight.
The Kraken are taking on the Preds at 5 p.m. Still to come, we've got What I Need to Know coming up at 1:45. Get your questions, any question, including any scenario. I always like the life advice. Those are my favorite. I will never get over Reggie.
No, and then we had the sister-in-law one recently.
That was another good one.
That's taken on multiple shows.
And you know that they're regular listeners when they're like, whatever happened with Reggie?
Yeah.
Whatever happened with that
We don't get any more updates on Reggie.
Yeah,
Jessica Everett was clutch with those.
All right, if you guys have any questions, send them to the Mac and Jack's text line, 866-979-3776. Hype Train coming your way next.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
We are now speaking with the architect of your Seattle Seahawks.
How we doing, football fans? With Seahawks President of Football Operations and General Manager John Schneider.
My job is to do what's best for the Seattle Seahawks organization. I have to keep wrapping my mind around that and trying to communicate effectively.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
What's the standard the Seahawks defense needs to be held to under Mike McDonald?
The John Schneider Show.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Music that moves your soul.
Cheerio, baby.
Event Center, Thursday, April 24th. Get tickets before they sell out at muckleshootcasino.com.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy. Pretty much hands off, They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
This is the story of the one. As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call is the best way to avoid a recall. That's why she trusts Grainger's world-class supply chain to deliver the high-quality supplies she needs to help keep her production line, her equipment, and her customers happy and healthy. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Febreze.
It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Imagine finding your dream home and moving in right away. No waiting to sell your old place first. Sounds perfect, right? That's exactly what Orchard's Move First, Sell Later program lets you do. Buy your new home now and sell the old one later. Here's how it works. Orchard gives you cash so you can buy and move into your new home first on your timeline. No waiting, no showings, no double moves. Then the Orchard experts take it from there. They handle repairs on your old home and make price-boosting upgrades with no cost until close. Once they're done, a local Orchard agent lists and sells your home for top dollar. Orchard's Move First program gives you the freedom to buy and move into your new home first and sell your old home later. Buy before you sell and get top dollar for your home with Orchard. Ready to find out how much your home is worth? Visit Orchard.com to get your free home valuation. That's orchard.com.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
Hey guys, did you know that half of men over age 50 have erectile dysfunction on some level? Whether you have mild, moderate, or severe ED, West Coast Men's Health can help. We don't prescribe pills and hope they work. Instead, we treat the root cause of the problem with acoustic wave therapy, which breaks down plaque, unclogs arteries, and restores blood flow. We have treated thousands of men across our 11 locations nationwide and have established ourselves as a leader in the industry. So whether you have ED, Peyronie's disease, or suffer from chronic pain, such as neuropathy, carpal tunnel, or Dupuytren's contracture, West Coast Men's Health can help. No pills, no shots, no surgery, just results.
With clinics in Redmond and Tacoma, call West Coast Men's Health at 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
Meanwhile, at Xfinity. So, influencer life going well?
Oh, yeah. I'm up to 32 followers.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah, posting my tap dancing videos is easier than ever because we engineered Xfinity Internet with 99.99% network reliability.
Plus, Xfinity Mobile with Wi-Fi Power Boost gives you ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. But wait, tap dancing? You don't tap dance.
Hey, what I lack in skill, I make up with passion.
Do more of what you love and love how fast you do it with Xfinity Internet and mobile. Through April 21st, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and one unlimited mobile line together for $25 a month for 1 year and save over $1,000 in your first year versus other major carriers. Plus, ask how to get iPhone 16e on us. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment tax and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus one unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus one unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet required. Actual savings vary.
This hour is brought to you by Mazda of Everett.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports at 97.3 FM HD2.
What I need to know coming your way in 15 minutes. Get your questions in. Any question, text it to the Mac and Jacks text line, 866-979-3776. Right now, let's head to the station for Hype Train. Biggest news here in Seattle is obviously DK Metcalf requesting a trade from the Seahawks. Albert Breer on with Brock and Salk this morning said he sees that happening before the start of the league year. That's not long from now, you guys. It's next Wednesday at, I think, 4 p.m. Pacific is officially the start of the new league year. Curtis, your first Hype Train. DK will be traded before Monday.
Dang. So that leaves us tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday.
It's a quick trade.
It would be a very quick trade. I am not boarding this train. I think it drags out for a little bit longer. I'm kind of hoping it drags out until like day one of the NFL draft.
Yeah.
So we can have this to talk about over the next month or so. Yeah, I don't think it happens just because I don't know how established the receiver market is. You're going to have to kind of wait for some moves to get made across the league before you can really know DK's true value to other teams. And I don't think teams are wanting to blink right now based off of what the Seahawks are asking for. And I don't think the Seahawks want to blink either in terms of what teams are willing to give up. So I think it gets drawn out a little bit here. Yes, the Seahawks are kind of up against it because they have some other moves they got to worry about. You got to worry about Geno. You got to worry about Ernest Jones, some other names on the roster too. But I think it gets drawn out a little bit. So I'm not boarding this train. I don't think DK is dealt before Monday.
Yeah, I'm not boarding this one either. I think that the Seahawks really want that first-round pick, really want to get the most you possibly can. Maybe it's a second-rounder and a player back. I don't know what it is. But Jacina Anderson's report, we opened the show with it about one team being willing to offer a third, makes it sound like other teams are offering way less. And if that's the case, I think the Seahawks sit and wait and see what happens. Next up. The Seahawks get a first-rounder for DK as part of this trade whenever it happens. Neither of us thinking it'll happen over the weekend.
A first-rounder for DK Metcalf?
Mm-hmm.
Not boarding that train. At least not yet. I would love for them to get a first-rounder in return because that opens up so much for what this offseason could be. Like, that gives you trade ammo to go out and maybe acquire a star player. That gives you ammo to move up and down in the first round. That gives you ammo to maybe say, hey, we want to get a first rounder in 2026 too. I just don't see it at the moment. If it was just a single straight up DK for a first round pick, I would make that trade 100 times out of 100. You wouldn't have to include anything else in that trade.
Even if it was like 30th from the Bills.
Yeah, I think I would. I think I absolutely would do that. The back end of the first round, just any kind of first round pick, I think would convince me to move DK Metcalf for. So, but I don't think they get that right now. I think you're looking at potentially a high second rounder being the best value at the moment, but I don't see a first rounder right now.
I don't either. No one's boarding any of these trains. I thought, like, well, maybe a 2026 first rounder, maybe that could happen, but I think that a good return would include a second rounder. Like, I that's okay with me. Anything less than that, much like Mina Kimes said on with us the other day, and all of a sudden you're not comfortable with that trade. So I don't know. I don't know how many receiver needy teams are willing to part ways with those first round picks, because a lot of those teams need more help than just receiver. Like, a lot of those teams, even the Chargers, who would like maybe use that on Matthew Golden or something, like they still need more guys.
Yes.
So I don't know about that one. Next up, Mariners really counting on some bounce back seasons from a couple guys. One of Mitch Haniger, Mitch Garver, or Jorge Polanco does actually have a bounce back season.
All right, I'm boarding this train.
First one.
And the guy I'm saying has a bounce back year, I'm going to Jorge Polanco. I think he's healthy. He had that offseason surgery that he had put off at the end of last season because he just didn't want to miss any time in the regular season. So shout out to him for gutting it out, but he's back healthy. Now, he hasn't really played the field much
I was gonna
in
say,
spring.
My understanding was that, he had knee surgery and he's better now, or he had a knee injury last year and he's better now. And it's like,
is this the Luis Arias thing? Because last year during spring training, everybody was like, Luis Arias' shoulder doesn't look right. Like, he can't even throw across the diamond. Everybody's like, no, don't worry about it. He's gonna be fine.
He's totally fine. He's fine.
And he was cooked. He was not good. But I think I think Jorge Polanco, he's just biding his time right now. It's spring training. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter. The vibes are easy. The vibes are relaxed. Like, yeah. I think he's the most likely of this three. If I were to rank the likelihood, I'm going Polanco, Garver, Haniger.
I'm going Garver, Polanco, Haniger. I am boarding this train, but I'm going to pick a different player to make it fun, to make it spicy, and because I do wonder if Jorge Polanco's knee recovering from that takes a little longer than we expect it will. Maybe he's not at 100% when the season starts. Mitch Garver played more games than he had in any other season last year. He was not happy with his season. Fans weren't happy with his season. But he was initially signed here to bring a bit of pop to the lineup. And I really hope we see that. Really, really hope we see that in 2025. God, I keep getting my years confused. Someone was making fun of me for saying instead of a 2026 first round or 2025. It's a 4-hour show. Sorry. What's next? Speaking of the first round, this is this year's first round, just to clarify. I'm avoiding the numbers. This year's first round, the Seahawks have picked number 18 overall. And yet, Curtis, we have had so many NFL guests over the past couple days talking about this draft class, saying, oh my God, there's so much talent on day 2. Those mid-rounds, a lot of running back talent and depth, a lot of defensive line talent and depth. And yeah, if you take like a defensive lineman at 18, you probably get a really good guy. And
right.
Yes, like you could use some first-round offensive line talent, but this is your hype train. The Seahawks should trade back in the first round.
No, I'm not boarding that train. And I think it's because I've been scarred by hearing the words, the Seahawks have traded back all those years where they had picks like 23, 24.
So you're already waiting for hours.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden Seahawks are on the clock, and then it says Seahawks are not on the clock anymore, and another team's logo pops up, and it's like, of course. And then you see, TJ Watt get picked ahead of where the Seahawks, ahead of where the Seahawks are picking. I don't think the Seahawks should trade back. I think you should be looking to add the most talented player available, and you're going to find somebody probably more talented at 18 than you would at, say, 26 or 27. So I think the Seahawks should absolutely keep pick 18 no matter what they do, unless Myles Garrett becomes available or would be willing to come to Seattle. So
I understand.
Not bored.
I'm not boarding either. I understand wanting more bites at the apple, and that's probably the approach I'd want to take as a GM. Like, I just get more shots at players working out. But, and also knowing there's lots of running back depth and defensive line depth, and you can find really good players in round 2 and 3. Looking around at the best offensive lines, some of the best guys are first rounders. Like, sometimes it really, you get a random like, oh, Jason Kelsey was a 6th rounder. Isn't that cool? But like, for the most part, granted, they're like high first rounders, you know, Penny Sewell or whoever. That's not where Seattle's picking, but I am desperate for improvement on the offensive line. And because I am so desperate for improvement, I'm going to hope that you have the best chance for that improvement with a more talented player, or at least a highly graded player.
Yeah.
Like, you might draft a guard or a center at 18 that has a 2nd round grade, but if you're pretty confident he can help your offensive line get better, then for the love of God.
I mean, there's a lot of people too after the season, they're like, was Byron Murphy the right pick at pick 16 last year? Yeah. I would still think he was the right pick at the time, and I think the Seahawks still should have taken him knowing what we know now, or at least consider, maybe another defensive lineman. But like, I think you need to do whatever it takes to make this the most talented roster possible. And if that is your most valuable pick at pick 18, keep it. Like, don't move away from what could be the best value you're going to find all draft long.
All right. My last one that we're not getting to was eating fries without sauce is crazy behavior.
Not boarding.
But
not boarding.
But I'm just going to move on to what I need to know. Get your questions into the Mac and Jack's text line. Any question, text it now. 866-979-3776. What I need to know, coming your way next.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is for you too. Stubborn fat is really hard to get rid of, and then there's all those gimmicky lasers, fat freezing methods, and prescriptions. Imagine a simple solution that takes just one day and provides immediate noticeable results. Introducing ProSculpt. ProSculpt uses air-assisted technology that's safe and gentle yet powerful, delivering instant fat-reducing and skin-tightening results. Performed by board-certified plastic surgeons while fully awake, ProSculpt contours your body with minimal downtime. It's designed to target those problem areas: waistline, neck, face, arms, thighs. ProSculpt gently removes unwanted fat and tightens loose skin with FDA-cleared plasma technology, all in a simple, guaranteed one-day procedure. ProSculpt is one and done. Schedule your free consultation at ProSculpt.com for $250 off. For powerful permanent fat removal and skin tightening that works for ladies and you men, it's ProSculpt.com.
Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. Are you 50 or older like me? The CDC now recommends vaccination against pneumococcal disease. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at increased risk and over 6 times greater risk of hospitalization with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50. Schedule your appointment today at vaxassist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter? Right? And the best part? They accept Discover. Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer. Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times. Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants? These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide.
based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Celebrate the best of the best in Washington sports with the 90th annual Sports Star of the Year Award Show on King 5. Legendary athletes and today's stars come together for one spectacular night of sports accolades. Hosted by Steve Rabel and Jordan Babineau, featuring Kenny Mayne, Cal Raleigh, Fred Couples, Jessica Campbell, Gary Payton, and Marshawn Lynch. The 90th annual Sports Star of the Year Award Show presented by Microsoft. Saturday, March 8th at 7 on King 5. Visit seattlesports.org for more.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe. The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
We are now speaking with the architect of your Seattle Seahawks.
How we doing, football fans?
With Seahawks President of Football Operations and General Manager John Schneider.
My job is to do what's best for the Seattle Seahawks organization. I have to keep wrapping my mind around that and trying to communicate effectively.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
What's the standard the Seahawks defense needs to be held to under Mike McDonald?
The John Schneider Show.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Over the past decade, Washington state politicians have doubled state spending with no improvements to the issues we care about. Instead, we now have the third highest cost of living in the nation and a $12 billion deficit. It's time to tell legislators we need better results, not bigger taxes. Act now at affordablewashington.org. Paid for by people for an affordable Washington and Olympia, Washington. Top 5 donors are Washington Alliance for Competitive Economy, Microsoft, Madrona, T-Mobile, and Alaska Air.
From whiplash to herniated discs, there are a few car accident injuries we've all heard of. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains that even the most common injuries differ from one another.
Pre-existing conditions, health history, beginning of treatment. There are hundreds of factors that make every person and every injury unique. While these variables aid medical treatment, the strongest case recoveries must also take them into account.
Could you explain a little bit more?
Our team at Pendergast Law is obsessed with turning over every stone to differentiate each case. This requires thorough investigation, diligent listening, and relentless research. We never pursue cases with a one-size-fits-all approach. We built our success by treating every injury and every case with the individualized attention our clients need and deserve.
Pendergast Law's individualized approach to even the most common injuries makes the difference in case outcomes. It's another reason why I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
This is the story of the one. As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call is the best way to avoid a recall. That's why she trusts Grainger's world-class supply chain to deliver the high-quality supplies she needs to help keep her production line, her equipment, and her customers happy and healthy. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
It's what I need to know. Get your questions, any question into the Mac and Jacks text line, 866-979-3776. If the Seahawks didn't have to pay Geno, says one listener, would they be in a different negotiating position with DK?
I think so. I think it would make DK extension kind of a no-brainer at that point, because you wouldn't have a quarterback salary that you're trying to work out. You wouldn't have, $40+ million that you're staring down potentially in paying Geno Smith, where it's like what the Vikings were able to do with Justin Jefferson. The reason they were able to pay him $35 million is because you had a bargain bin free agent quarterback in Sam Darnold and a rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. Right. You had basically no money tied up in your quarterback spot, so you could afford to pay Justin Jefferson as much as you did.
Likewise, you see teams with a ton of money invested in quarterback, and maybe they do have a top-paid guy. Look at Dallas, who did just have to restructure both of those deals. But for the most part, it's like, oh, man, the Bills moving on from Diggs, being like, maybe we don't want to pay a receiver a ton of money. We'll extend our slot receiver. We'll see what happens there. But, yeah, I think to answer the question, yeah. What I need to know. Who is the best Seattle athlete who went by initials in honor of DK Metcalf?
It's probably him, right?
Well, you've got KJ Wright.
Okay.
JP Crawford. CJ Prosise.
Not CJ. No.
CJ
Prosise had one game against the Patriots on a Sunday night. Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah, I think I'd go DK. KJ Wright is a good number 2. In that ranking. There haven't been many guys who have gone by initials in this town.
JP Crawford?
JP Crawford. That was on the list.
There's
CJ Wilcox.
DJ Fluker.
DJ Fluker. CJ Wilcox was a Husky basketball player.
There's got to be an obvious one I'm missing where the second someone says it, I go, oh my God, I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But I can't think of it. Let's see. What I need to know.
JJ Putz, Wally from Snoqualmie, chiming in with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why hasn't anyone mentioned signing and then trading DK? The receiving team wouldn't have to worry about him re-signing. I don't know. Above my pay grade, but that rarely ever happens.
Yeah, I think because you would then have to assume a lot more.
Probably you'd have dead money if that happened.
Whereas if you trade him currently, the team you're trading him to assumes all of that.
Yeah.
And it's their money probably.
Same premise as like a tag and trade. It's like, we don't want anything on the books.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people saying Dennis Johnson, who was on the Sonics championship team in '79. Stacy and I were about a decade away from being born.
But a good suggestion.
Yeah. 425 GP, Gary Payton, the glove. Yeah.
Junior. I'm not counting the junior at the end of Griffey.
No, yeah.
Isaiah Thomas for the Huskies.
IT. Yeah. But
one of the coolest
like
moments
the
from an initial name.
The spirit of this question, though, was guys whose first name is initial. KJ, JP.
TJ Hushmanzada.
He was here for 1 year and
still a great
by all
name.
accounts was not the greatest dude in that locker room.
I feel like KJ's first name is Kenneth.
Kenneth Wright Jr. Yeah.
So technically his first name is not KJ Curtis.
True.
And DK's first name is DeKalen. I don't even know that. I think the K is part of that.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't even know that there's a K middle name.
Story about KJ Wright and his actual first name. So before he had done the KJ Wright show here and before he had become KJ Wright, as we know him to be, I was working a job at the Shower Center box office, and at Will Call, you had to show ID to get your tickets. And KJ Wright was there for an event, and somebody had left him tickets. And the person who was manning the Will Call booth, KJ was obviously like, yeah, it's under KJ Wright. And they're like, here's some tickets. I just need to see ID to release these. And he shows them ID and it just says Kenneth Wright on it. And the person's like, I can't give you these tickets because the name on your ID does not match the name on the tickets. No. And I had to step in because I knew, being a Seahawks fan at the time, I knew KJ Wright's
They had no
real
idea
name.
it's KJ Wright.
Right. They had no idea who this was. I had to step in and be like, that's him. That's him. He is a Seattle Seahawk. Yeah. Like, give the man his tickets. There won't be any issue.
I know you need the ID to match, but like you could just Google.
Yeah.
Hopefully that works.
Do you have a football card on you or something? Yeah, just Google this man. You'll find out that he goes by KJ.
What I need to know. Do you remember the last time you were embarrassed?
Yeah, I mean, probably in the grocery store with one of my kids. I think that was
yelling or
yeah. They're really good at doing that in a grocery store.
Every time I go to Target and get Starbucks, I think of when Willa grabbed Brenna's Starbucks and just threw it on the ground.
Dumped it out. Gosh.
It's a power move.
Yeah, Blair is in a big dumping out liquids phase too, where if anything has a straw in it, she's taking the straw out and literally just dumping it upside down.
I wonder what it is in their brains as kids where they're like,
I think it's just
I gotta empty this.
Yeah, I gotta empty this liquid.
I gotta see what's in this cup.
Fastest way possible. I think just seeing the liquid pour out is
it's like playing.
The coolest thing. Yeah. We actually recently bought a steam cleaner to like get those deep liquid stains out of our carpet because they are just dumping all sorts of sodas and juices and whatnot onto it. Ugh.
They're living a good life.
They are. They really are.
What I need to know.
Just with reckless abandon.
Well, imagine living your life like what a toddler could get away with. I would knock everyone's food off the table.
Yeah, so we always compare the two girls, like where Willa was at the same age that Blair was, and we never realized how good we had it with Willa at that age because Blair is chaos, pure chaos. Like it reminds me a lot of that viral video a few years ago where the little kid grabs the knife off the table and starts running it, and the mom in the background's like, "Hey, they got a knife!"
Yeah.
And that's kind of Blair's energy, where just no rules. She just goes
vibes.
nuts. Yeah.
What I need to know, with DK probably being traded, do you think it'll change up the Seahawks strategy in the draft?
Yeah, I think so. I think you have to take a receiver at some point. I don't think you can go through this draft, not take a receiver, and hope that JSN and Jake Bobo are your two guys that can get the job done. Not saying that JSN can't be a number one because he was a number one and was great at it this season, but you got to get some depth at that position.
Imagine you're in a world where you're a successful recording artist. Beyonce has nothing on you. What's your stage name? I mean, you got to go one word. Beyonce, Madonna, whatever it is. What if it's just Curtis?
Kurt.
Oh, horrible stage name.
I know.
Give it up for Kurt. Here he comes.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Let's see. Someone else said they have 4 kids and personalities couldn't be more different.
Yeah. Truly.
So funny.
They're all over the place.
Yeah.
It's crazy how we can even tell they had different personalities like the day we brought Blair home from the hospital. Like, it was that soon that we were like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a lot different than our first.
All right, this has been Bump and Stacy. Curtis Rogers filling in for Bump today and tomorrow. Thank you again, everyone, for listening. Thank you to our guests. Wyman and Bob coming your way next.
The John Schneider Show.
Every Thursday until draft day on Wyman and Bob.
We are now speaking with the architect of your Seattle Seahawks.
How we doing, football fans?
With Seahawks President of Football Operations and General Manager John Schneider.
My job is to do what's best for the Seattle Seahawks organization. I have to keep wrapping my mind around that and trying to communicate effectively.
Listen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. or watch the interviews on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
What's the standard the Seahawks defense needs to be held to under Mike McDonald?
The John Schneider Show.
Brought to you by Pizza Hut.
Have you considered surgery or even joint replacement? Hey, it's Dave Wyman, and before you make that decision, see Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Why? Because he gives it to you straight. Dr. Wagner said my right knee needs replacement, and I appreciate his honesty and expertise. My left knee is fine right now, but the minute it isn't, I'm heading to Dr. Wagner for his expert opinion. I want to avoid another surgery, and I've heard so many patients rave about results from their 90-minute outpatient stem cell procedure with Dr. Wagner. He's a board-certified Seattle physician with over 30 years of experience and has performed more than 20,000 stem cell procedures using a person's own stem cells to regenerate cartilage in their own joints. People with severe osteoarthritis, even bone on bone, are back doing what they enjoy without pain and without surgery. Whether it's a shoulder, hip, elbow, ankle, wrist, or knee, before choosing surgery, see Dr. Mark Wagner first. Go to drmarkwagnermd.com.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto Family.
Hello. Welcome to Lee Johnson Auto Family. This is King. This organization's a special one. They call it the Lee Johnson Auto Family, and it's not just a name, it's not just some cliche. They foster an environment for us to become a family, to work together, to really become close, and they show us in a lot of different ways that they do value us. Is it perfect? No, no place is. But I've been very thankful to be here in the almost 10 years and have every plan to stay here for a lot longer and just watch it continue to grow.
He's fun and professional, which explains why so many people visiting Lee Johnson Kia ask for him by name. The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
We at 3 Tree Roofing understand that your home is your castle. That's why our certified technicians use state-of-the-art installation methods to deliver the highest warranties available. Check out our hundreds of online reviews and schedule a free estimate to see for yourself. 3 Tree Roofing, your Puget Sound roofing experts.
We've all been there. Sleepless nights, mind racing, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bayalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bay Alarm, we got you.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean. And there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm? I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Spring is finally here, and so are spring projects. So get them started at Harbor Freight's parking lot sale. This weekend, save on products like pressure washers for $69.99, 42-inch roller cabinets for under $500, plus 30% off Hercules corded power tools. Whatever you do, do it for less at Harbor Freight. Valid until 3/9/25 while supplies last. Limitations apply, so spring in before it's over.
Guys, your testosterone level impacts your energy, drive, weight, hair loss, and even ED. Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your T level for free. For your free T level check, exam, and consultation,